Hey, it's been a while. It's been a
What's
while.
up, guys? I love how that's always referenced because of Matt.
Yeah, that's reference from Matt. I'm not even kidding. There's like 2 podcasts that reference that song.
Really? Oh, God.
Yeah. But
Everybody
anyways,
references that song. Anyway, how's it going, guys? It's been a while.
Andy here and my boy Rob, Bobby.
Stop. This is why we only have 21 subscribers on YouTube.
This is exactly why we only have 21 subscribers. But hey, a lot of stuff has happened.
Yep.
You may have noticed that I have a third face here.
Yeah, we have a third guest. This is Dan, my brother-in-law, our friend. We're not technically, he's not technically my brother-in-law, but I pretty much consider you that.
I mean,
anyway.
like at this point, you might as well.
Yeah.
At this point, you might as well.
So I whenever I talk about you, I always refer to you as my brother-in-law. We talked about Dan a bit on this podcast before, and yeah, our first guest.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. But before we get into that, so if you guys recall, because it really has been a while, I think.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Our last episode was the low episode, right?
Yeah, it was a low episode. So that was a few months ago.
Right. Even that was ions ago. So Bowie, right? We were in the middle of a Bowie discography. If you recall, we might have mentioned that a certain co-host had a baby and is kind of busy with that dad life right now.
Yep.
So you guys, yeah.
Thanks.
Come on. So, with that being said, you guys know all the way back to the Crimson days, Crimson, Bowie, Rob and I put a lot of work into that.
Takes a lot of prep.
It's a lot of prep. The research side of things, you guys know, I use 3 resources as far as that goes: 2 books and the Uncut magazine for both discography series, and then Rob does all the editing. So it really is a lot of time and a lot of work, and because of that, we're gonna put that series on hold. We were hoping to get through at least the Berlin trilogy. That didn't happen. All good. But we will be picking that up, and Heroes would be the next episode. So
we will at some point, for sure.
I think that'll be a
in the near
good
future.
place. Yeah. So that'll be a good place to pick up for sure. Rob and I will continue that. But you guys also know that we've been wanting to branch out, and we kind of have a little bit. We did, of course, our kind of sort of infamous Rock and Roll Hall of Fame rant, and we did a top 10 favorite bands.
Yep.
And speaking of top 10s, that's what we're going to be doing today.
Hey, I like your segue.
So our buddy Dan here, our third co-host, he's going to be a part of this series, our top 10 series. We're going to continue that, and we're hoping he joins us for several other musical conversations as well. Who knows, maybe he'll join us for the next discography series when we get to that in like 2024.
Yeah.
I don't even think we're not even halfway through the Bowie.
I know, we picked such a long discography to do. Dan, I'm guessing it sounds like you kind of started listening to all like some of our older episodes, and you were sort of like, I want in,
Oh yeah. No, they were fun.
He's like, they're all crap, so I want in to enhance the podcast.
And we've talked about this. I want to do literally a podcast just about his top 10.
Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, I think even when we did that top 10, we both said tomorrow this could change.
Yeah.
So maybe, sometime next year, that's something that we could revisit again.
Yeah, I feel like already there's a couple of bands and artists I missed, and it's hard when you're trying to compile something. And like, even with the subject we're going to do today, it was like I kept picking and choosing, shuffling the order, thinking like, hey, should this be in? Should this be out? So it's these kind of things always change.
Absolutely. I mean, I could tell you 2 at least I would interchange, but
yeah, stay
tuned for that because that's not happening for a while. But again, top 10s. So why don't you explain how this is going to work? This is kind of sort of a mini series in of itself. So why don't you explain what that's going to do?
I will in just a second, but first, in honor of Dan's first podcast with us, I'm going to crack open a cold one.
Oh man,
in my Kingdom Hearts mug.
So it's funny thing here, the viewers know here, the listeners know that this is how we tend to start out a lot of our shows, what we're drinking. And typical Santa Muzak fashion, I'm the one that cracks open the beer.
Yeah.
And this guy's usually like, his
Yeah.
green tea or whatever.
No, I couldn't. Not with this list and with our guests. So.
Well, to quote
Well,
the
you
great,
got me feeling bad because we got coffee.
that's what I'm saying. To
Oh, that's
quote
all right.
the great Michael Gary Scott, oh, how the turntables. Because you've got your beer. We've
Well,
got
I've also been off of work for cheers, fellas. I've also been off work.
Cheers a coffee to a beer.
Oh, coffee. This is an oatmeal stout, so.
Hey, both drugs at the end of the day. Am I right?
Fair enough.
There you go.
So, a couple things with Dan that I want to talk about with the audience for context. So, the three of us and our friend Matt.
We've also referenced quite a bit.
Yeah, who we also referenced quite a bit. It'd be fun to have him on here too. The four of us dinguses were like, for me, it would have been just post high school. For you three, you guys were all in high school yet. We kind of all bonded over music, and a lot of our formative years of discovering music really was, together around that time. So it's pretty awesome that you're here, Dan, because obviously you were a huge part of that. So, and we had a lot of discussions, arguments,
Oh yeah,
all of those things. So it was lots of fun, and it's cool to act, as I have said to you, especially when we first started the podcast, Andrew, it's great to have you here to be able to chat with us, and it's very nostalgic and just fun,
It definitely brings things full circle, that's for sure. I remember, this guy, our first conversation, I had a Pink Floyd The Wall shirt, and you had a Dark Side of the Moon shirt, and we were in gym class together, and just talked about music. We were both playing guitar at the time. He's like, hey, I'm my buddy, putting a band together, it'd be cool if you could jam with us sometime. And I don't even remember the name. Did we even have a name? Did we?
No, we didn't really get past the alpha.
We didn't have a drummer either. But hey,
that's a different story.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole different story. Yeah, long road.
I think Sultans of Swing was the one. I think.
Dire Straits. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, Sultans of Swing. That would have been pretty cool.
That. Yeah.
I
have this very vague memory of being in your dad's old garage.
Yep.
Jamming to Come Together.
Yeah, that was fun. Yep.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good times, especially we used to always go to the mall at once a week, and we buy CDs, or we would go to one of our favorite places, which is the Sound Exchange, New Jersey. Look at records, look at CDs. Discovered a lot of bands together. A lot of
when FYE was a music store. Kids, not
their U section was
incredible.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. So this should be
investment that was.
Yeah, this discussion to me is like a no-brainer, because this is a debate we would have had for this podcast particularly. We probably had 100 times back in the day, to get into the whole theme of the episode. It's top 10 greatest guitarists, or I guess it would be our favorite guitarists and why. So
the emphasis on favorite.
Yes, I think favorite, you have to, because I learned this from doing my Super Nintendo video on the other channel. My other channel there is people would complain, it's these aren't really the top 10 greatest games. These are just your favorites. So you have to be careful when you say this, because people on the internet have nothing better to do than to complain in the comments that, it's not the all-time greatest. So this is our favorite guitarists, our top 10 favorite guitarists who we each think are the best. And how we're going to format it today is we're going to start out as you naturally would in descending order from 10 to 1. And so, for example, maybe Andy will go first and say his 10, and then I'll go, and then Dan, or whatever order we want to do. And we'll go down to our number 1. We'll start out with honorable mentions, because I have a few I would like to mention that just barely made it. You guys do too. And we're going to try to keep it somewhat brief. And what we're also going to do is for each guitarist, we're going to talk about our favorite guitar solo, or even just the song we feel that the guitarist really shines and displays why we love their playing so much. So that's pretty much the format of today's show. Pretty simple. Anything to add?
Yes. So this will be, as I mentioned before, an ongoing series. So it's going to be our top 10 guitar players. That's going to then segue into our top 10 bass players, keyboard players, drummers, vocalists, songwriters. And then once we get through that, that's going to bring us to, did we say top 10? Like super band, super group?
I think it was like, make a super group.
Oh, make a
That's
super
right,
group
yeah.
favorites,
Make a super group based off of those 5 from
Oh,
your
I used to
lists.
love doing that. Ugh.
So again, today's guitar players. Then we're gonna do bass players, drummers, vocalists, and song.
Oboe.
And of course, oboe.
Oboe, yeah.
Shout out to you oboe players, by the way. You don't get enough credit. All right, so should we have our new co-host go first?
No,
Go for
save me for last because I'm
Okay, all right.
I wasn't aware of honorable mentions.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Fair
our
enough,
new
fair
co-host
enough.
is not
I'll
gonna
start. I'll start. I got everything jotted down on my notepad here.
Let's do it.
Let's
So
open
these
up.
are your honorable mentions.
So my honorable mentions are, I'm just going to very quickly name them. I will say I did not put the number one obvious one I did not put was Jimi Hendrix. I think, and I feel like we can all agree that Jimi Hendrix probably deserves the number one spot if you're talking objectively. I mean, it's hard to look at music objectively because of it's really subjective to the listener what your favorite is. But Jimi Hendrix is the glaring omission here, I feel. Another couple of omissions that I feel that sort of deserve it too, or well, more than sort of deserve it, were Brian May, Eddie Van Halen. Rest in peace, by the way, Eddie Van Halen. We just recently lost him. And then a couple of other ones that I really feel that I like that you might not think of. You might not like really think of these guys like right away, but a lot of them are pretty well known. The first one is Neil Young, who I think is an underrated guitarist, but also, and not technically the best guitarist, but he's very, very unique, and I've always loved his playing. Joe Walsh, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best slide players in rock, and I love both the stuff with the Eagles, but also particularly his solo stuff. He does some amazing stuff, and James Gang. Can't forget James Gang. And then a couple of just fan favorites for me would be that you wouldn't really think at all. Number one would be Zappa. He did some amazing guitar work, and I think he's kind of overshadowed because of his style of music and because he's considered really a composer before anything, but he shreds on a lot of songs. And then a couple of them that also fly under the radar, Adrian Belew from King Crimson, one of the most unique guitar players ever, just the way he was able to make cool different sounds and sound effects with his guitar. I always love that. Frank Bornemann from Eloy. They're a German progressive rock band. Amazing tones, akin of like maybe the Gilmour, like David Gilmour. And the number one for me, which is you guys might be kind of like, who is this guy? Is a guy named Andrew Latimer. I almost put him on this list. He is the guitar player from a band called Camel from the 70s.
Oh, okay.
He is amazing. He is amazing. Like I was listening to some of them the other day, and I was like, I want to put him on here, but he was just shy of the list. So if you want a really great song that exemplifies his amazing playing, listen to the song Lunar Sea by Camel off the Moon Madness album. Amazing, amazing guitarist. He has this way of just kind of cascading notes and just really setting a mood and an atmosphere just by playing, and it's amazing. So yeah, those would be my honorable mentions.
So basically, all of your honorable mentions were every other guitar player.
Yeah, every other guitar player.
And I will say before I list my honorable mentions, to add on to your thing with Jimi Hendrix, Dan and I were just having a conversation about Hendrix yesterday. I truly feel that, and the reason why I kind of shook my head when you said objectively the greatest guitar player, is I truly feel that we never heard Hendrix at his peak. I think his 3 studio records, definitely gave us a taste like, wow, like this guy's really something. And I think Band of Gypsies gave us a glimpse of where he would have gone.
Yeah, I think Band of Gypsies is a really great album.
So yeah, he's kind of one of those what if guys, right? Like,
yeah.
I just don't think we heard his best.
But even the body of work he's left behind, I think unquestionably he's still one of the greatest, if not the greatest, But again, that's all, subjective. So
All subjective, and what if? I think that's an idea for another time.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
What's yours?
All right,
Give me your honorable mentions.
My honorable mentions. This was really tough.
Yeah, it was.
And I just want to emphasize again that this is a favorites list and not a best list. So I think for all three of us, our favorites are based off of our musical tastes, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So for me, I know when we were talking about doing this list, one of the questions that was brought up was some bands have dual guitar players, right? Where they very rely on each other stylistically.
Yeah. There's guitarists who played with a co-lead player their entire career. So how could you not include that?
Exactly. So for me, the one band that stood out, and it's my favorite era of the band, is the Mick Taylor era of the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
That 4-album stretch with Mick Taylor. Mick Taylor, you want to talk about as far as a lead, but also what he brought out, and Keith Richards is playing as well.
Yeah.
Well, Keith Richards would be in my top 20. I would put the two of them together, quite frankly. Even Keith Richards on his own would be in my top 20. But bring Mick Taylor into the equation and just the dynamic that the two of them had. I really think those 4 Stone records that he's on are their best. So Mick Taylor / Keith Richards for me would be in my honorable mentions. A guy named Ronald Jones from the Flaming Lips. He really didn't make my list because he only features on 2 of their records, and they're monumental records, but I just couldn't justify putting him in my top 10 because of that. I've also got Robbie Robertson from the band, especially those early band records, just phenomenal. And of course, The Last Waltz is just a thing of itself there. I also have Ron Ashton from the Stooges. He was just shy of my list as well. You guys might be a little thrown off by this one, but John Lennon. Yes, John Lennon.
I'm actually not, because I've talked to a few people who said that John Lennon is their favorite guitarist.
Lennon, in terms of a rhythm player, I think is underrated. And let's just say Mr. Lennon might feature in some of my other subsequent lists. But
do you mind if I just add something there to what you're saying?
Yeah.
When I thought of this list, and it's funny because we didn't really establish it, I was thinking lead guitar players. Now, I feel like rhythm guitar players are almost a different conversation. So I almost feel like we should have specified, because my rhythm guitar player list would be probably completely different. So
yes, fair enough. I mean, I'll tell you when we get into our 10, it's very mixed. Like I have probably, if anything, I have more rhythm players on my list than lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is something that maybe we should.
It's something we probably should have established, because because rhythm guitar players is totally legit. Like you have some people who made careers on just playing rhythm guitar, and it's just as important.
Well, all right, guys, that's a wrap with today's episode. Check us out on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, and Pocket Cast. We'll see you next time. I'm kidding.
Go ahead, finish your answer.
Harrison's great too, of course, but for me, Lennon would be an honorable mention. A guy named Nels Cline from the band Wilco. He didn't join Wilco till their later 2000s albums, but incredible lead player. Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. He's one of my favorite rhythm guys. I'm kind of just getting into Dinosaur Jr., so that's why he was left off my 10. And then Curtis Mayfield as well, both with the impressions and solo.
Oh, nice.
Curtis Mayfield's an incredible soul singer, one of the greatest songwriters, but I feel like a lot of people don't talk about his guitar playing enough.
Yeah.
So enough. For me, he would have been pretty close as well.
All right. So Dan, who are your honorable mentions?
The honorable mentions, Andrew took one, Mick Taylor.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because I actually did not know that Mick Taylor played most of the lead work.
Yep.
For them.
Yeah. That solo on Can't You Hear Me Knocking, that's all him.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was another one off to that. I think it was the Sticky Fingers album, real blues one, but he does like that blues slide with like the steel guitar.
Okay, yeah, I believe that Exile especially, all the slide is him.
Yeah. From what I read, Keith Richards actually preferred to play acoustics.
Not surprised.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think of songs like Happy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like big into that.
Sure.
This one's gonna bum Rob out in the honorable mentions. I have Richie Blackmore.
Hey, fair enough.
Yeah. I approach the list as guitar players that I go to like regularly.
Sure. Hey, that's I feel like we all approached the list differently, so it's fair enough.
Yep. And then Gary Moore from Thin Lizzy, plus a great blues solo career.
Oh yeah, Gary Moore is a legend.
And then another one that this one I had a hard time with, but Dwayne Allman.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have thought he would have been in your 10.
Not in he'd be like 11.
Okay.
11.
You got me thinking, Dan. Like I forgot all about Robin Trower, for example. Like there's guys who were just
guys like that, like
Uli John Roth, like those guys who like are just known for their guitar playing. You know?
Guys. I stayed away from the guys like that, like Steve Vais and.
Yeah, I don't have really any big like flashy metal guy. Like I think Steve Vai is an amazing guitar player, or like I said, Eddie Van Halen or somebody like that. But there isn't.
I did find a funny list when I was researching. It was the top 10 douchiest guitar players.
Was Richie Blackmore at number one?
Yeah.
No, Steve Vai.
Steve Vai was number one. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I literally came across that list earlier today. Yep.
Which, like, in a way, kind of.
Well, you met him though, Dan.
list.
You met him in person, so he didn't. He's
not a douche in like in his playing.
Oh, I see. Yeah, fair enough. We're back.
Right. We're back. Hey, we're back.
I knocked out my power cord to the internet, so good job, self. Anyway, so we were talking about Dan's honorable mentions.
Before Rob rudely kicked the Wi-Fi.
Well, Andrew messed up because he wasn't clear about what exactly we were going with the guitars or with the guitar list, and then Dan screwed up because Richie Blackmore honorable mention. Get the fuck out of here.
Also, how's that
my fault? I love you guys.
Anyways, all right, Dan, keep going.
We thought we were so prepared. Now look at us.
That's all right.
We maintain the professionalism.
Through and through. I think I left off with Billy Gibbons.
Yes, you did.
Oh hell yeah, he would be on my honorable mentions too.
Very tough to not put him in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest blues players ever. I actually saw a good video. I think it was him in Les Paul.
Oh, awesome.
Doing the research, yeah.
Sure, that was awesome.
Then I had Jerry Garcia.
I'm not surprised to hear that. Actually, I am surprised to hear that he's not in your top 10.
Jerry Garcia, like Grateful Dead, I don't go to like too often. So I've also smoked less pot, so.
There's that too.
But then I had Prince.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have thought he would have been in your list.
Not in the. He has a version of My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yes.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that one, Rob?
Yep.
It's probably one of the best solos you'll ever hear.
I may or may not be talking about that.
He's another underrated one. He's like, you wouldn't expect that he's as good as he is.
I agree.
He's weird. Like on his studio stuff, you don't hear on his live stuff, and then like the one-off jam stuff he does, he like really shreds at it.
He also did a performance. I think it was for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Tom. Was it with Tom Petty?
That's what we're talking about. While My Guitar Gently.
Yeah. Okay, that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that thing he stole the show from everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hands down.
And then a random Mick Ralphs of Mott the Hoople and Bad Company.
Oh,
nice.
He is very good. Yeah.
And that I like the fact, like when he was in Mott the Hoople, he had that glam rock style to the guitar. And then with Bad Company, you heard him become more like that hard rock, edgier playing.
Yeah.
So, but that was about it for the honorable mention.
Yeah,
that list can continue to go on.
Oh, I know. You got me thinking like Mick Box from Uriah Heep was amazing. I mean, there's so many guitar. John Fogerty is an amazing guitar player. Actually, he does all the leads in CCR.
Yeah,
another one I would say underrated.
I was actually Mark Bolan.
Mark Bolan, of course.
Oh my God,
Mark Bolan. Yeah, he's fantastic. We could go on and on.
Yeah, guys like Bolan and again Mott the Hoople. I've been gaining.
They're not flashy, but it's like in their tone, their riffs.
Oh
like that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's what I like about them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But going through Bowie's discography, I've been gaining a new appreciation for guys like that. So
totally,
it's really cool. So before we get into our top tens, we've all kind of touched a little bit how we approached our list, just based off our honorable mentions alone. But I think Rob will stick with the order. You go first with your number 10. But with each of us, before we give our number 10, just give a brief overview with how you approached your list.
Okay, and another thing we didn't talk about, by the way, when we went to actually do this list, because we didn't specify rhythm or lead, we also didn't specify genre,
I throw it all out the window. I think it's
Yeah.
all.
I guess
think
it's
it's
just
all whatever.
how- okay.
It's your list should be based off your.
What do you mean by genre?
Like we didn't specify, like, I mean, there are great guitar players from all kinds of different styles of music, not even just rock. Like you said, Curtis Mayfield is one. Curtis Mayfield, I wouldn't call rock influenced rock, but certainly not like a rock guitarist,
That's a rant for another day.
uh,
No, I was just gonna say that. I think that's irrelevant. I really do. It
Yeah.
should just be based off your taste because I have a jazz guitar player in my top 10. I have a punk rock guitar player.
Yeah.
I have hard rock.
Or you have like I was thinking BB King. He's one of the greatest
blues.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think that's all irrelevant. I think it should
Okay.
just be based off your tastes.
I just wasn't sure if we should have specified a little bit more to kind of narrow it down, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I think to be fair, we kind of put this together pretty quickly too. But again,
Yeah, fair enough.
it's all
Okay.
good. So
I'll start
give
with my
us
number
an
10.
overview of how you approached your list, and then give us your number 10.
Okay, my list is basically lead guitar players. I didn't really think in terms of rhythm. Otherwise, the list would be a bit different. I mostly went for the most part, rock guitar players, give or take, whatever you want to say. And that was pretty much like mostly electric guitar players, although all of these guys dabble in other stuff. I don't know. Whenever you get those lists of like the greatest guitarists, you want to get the big, I don't know, the jammers, I don't know. So my number 10 is Martin Barre from Jethro Tull. I think he is a very underrated guitar player. I got to see this man live. Dan was with me actually when we saw him live.
Amazing.
What I like about him is that he plays like his guitar playing is in some very like it's kind of started out like a lot. Tull's earlier stuff was very bluesy, so it's very rooted in the blues, but he can play really complex stuff too. So his acoustic playing is just as amazing as his electric playing. He can solo. He's also good at those subtleties. He's just a very all-around diverse player. And I don't know, he kind of gets bonus points for seeing him live. He was amazing. He can also play lots of other instruments aside from guitar. And like, I'm talking like string instruments. He played mandolin. He played all kinds of those different stringed instruments. So I think he's an underrated player. I think he's got a very unique tone that's kind of all of his own. He's actually a really influential player, but not really as but a lot of people just don't talk about him for some reason. And I don't know. I really like his playing, and I especially like the early Tull, like his guitar playing in those. The first album he was on was Stand Up, and I think the best song that really, really shows off his really bluesy and just like awesome electric playing is We Used to Know. There's two amazing solos in that song, and I love it. I love his tone. He's a great guitar player.
That's awesome. Still not going to get me to listen to Jethro Tull anytime soon.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I had to get my Tull joke in there.
I know.
Okay, so the way I approach this list is, I'm sure all of us to some degree were kind of overthinking it a little bit, and I'm no exception. And then I just finally, literally this morning, was like, screw it. I'm gonna base it off the music I like. And you're gonna see a couple of guitar players on here. You're like, why? Because they might not necessarily be known, as
They might not be shredders, right? Like,
right. But
I'm not talking about the villain from Ninja Turtles either. So
shout out to Ninja Turtles. But if they're on my list, obviously I like it one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna bring me to my number 10. And my number 10 is Peter Buck from REM. When I listen to Peter Buck's guitar playing, the first thing that comes to mind is this is clearly a guy that grew up working in a record store. Mm-hmm. And I think his playing reflects that. I think of a guitar solo like the song Camera off their second record, which he doesn't do a lot of guitar solos, but I listen to a solo like that, I'm like, that's very Pink Floyd-ish to me. But then I listen to some of the arpeggios and some of the, earlier REM albums, again, like a song like Radio Free Europe, and that even predates the Smiths, the Replacements, and then later on Radiohead. So literally this is a guy that worked at a record store, and that's how he learned the guitar. There's an infamous story of him and Michael Stipe, the singer of REM, how they met. And the way they met was they talked about the first 4 Patti Smith records, which I forgot to mention. Lenny Kaye from the Patti Smith group would be in my honorable mentions as well. But, you know, REM songs are catchy, and a lot of that has to do with his guitar playing. Whether it's, you know, a power chord like the one I love, or again, some of the more gorgeous pieces, can't talk, like songs like Country Feedback, Find the River, things like that. Yeah, I just, you know, huge Peter Buck fan. I mentioned some of the songs already, but again, check out a song like Camera, one of the few guitar solos you'll hear from him. Country Feedback, he taps into his inner Neil Young a little bit. And again, some of the hits, End of the World as We Know It, the one I love, some of those big thumping power chords. He's just all over the place, and
Nice.
that's why he's my number 10.
Cool. Dan?
My number 10 goes to Joe Perry, Aerosmith.
Nice.
What I like about him is, well, when I was a kid, I had a picture of him where he was playing a Gibson Les Paul, but then he had like the Stratocaster across his back, and it was always just such a cool post. Then when you listen to him, his riffs, some of the best, most memorable riffs you will ever hear. And his my favorite solo by him is probably off of when he did Train Kept a Rolling.
Oh God, yeah, I love the guitar playing in that song.
Yeah. But then he showed like more melodic playing with what's that one album? Draw the Line. I think it's Kings and Queens.
Yep.
Off of that one, just like, I mean, and he was from the 70s Rolling Stones. Like, he was like that era's Keith Richards. Just,
he's another one of those guys who has an unmistakable tone. Like, you know, he's playing. If he were to play on a completely different band song, you'd know it's him playing. You know, he's one of those guys.
Yeah, the whole song. It's Moving Out off of that's probably my favorite work by him. It's such a simple little riff, but the lead is so good.
Oh, amazing.
So good.
And
Joe Perry.
He's one of the big riff masters too, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I've kind of gained a new appreciation for him because Cass is a big Aerosmith fan as well as her dad. So he's a guy I've kind of, as I get older, grow more an appreciation for sure.
Nice. Should I go to number 9, or did you want me to? Okay, my number 9 is Duane Allman. Yeah. Now, the reason I picked him was because I really wanted a guy that could represent my love of like that southern twangy kind of guitar, that bluesy southern twangy kind of guitar. And there's just nobody, in my opinion, that does it better than Duane Allman. I know the two guys in Leonard Skinner are a good. They are also good picks as well. But Duane Allman, I can listen to that guy play guitar all day. I absolutely love his playing. Allman's always felt like they just could they could just jam for days on a tune. And I don't know, there's something about his playing that really does it for me. He's really good at slide.
He's probably the best.
I would say, yeah, he's got to be the best. And the song I picked, there's 2 of them I picked actually. The first one would be Whip and Post, and I'm going with the Fillmore East one because come on, you know, like I don't think I need to say we're like 10 minutes or so that song is, and he just rips and rips and rips. But the other one is Layla. He plays. Man,
I forgot.
Yeah, he plays. We were listening to that song, and I hadn't heard it in a while because, you know, they used to play it way too much on classic rock radio, and I hadn't heard it in years. So Rachel and I were listening to it, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm listening to that whole ending with the piano that's like what, 4 minutes long or whatever.
Yeah.
Really long ending, and I'm hearing all the stuff that's all those like kind of twangy like touches that are added to it, and I'm like, that's not Clapton. And I was reading it, I was like, oh, that's right. Duane Allman was on this song, and the stuff he does on that is just beautiful and amazing. And I think he's also a very diverse guitar player too. He has his subtle moments as well. He can really play acoustic really well too. And yeah, I don't know. He's one of the greats for a reason, you know.
He was a big guest guitar. Like he was on like an Aretha Franklin record.
Yep.
A couple of those soul albums, stuff like that.
He's a big reason why I could just put, like, I'm happy to hear the Allman Brothers at any time, especially those early records with, you know, from the debut to Eat a Peach. I mean, he just did Mountain Jam. I didn't talk about that. That song, that's amazing. Yeah, he can listen to Duane Allman all day, man. Love his guitar playing.
Yeah, I forgot that he played on Layla.
I did too, and then I looked at it. I was like, this doesn't sound like Clapton. What the, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh fuck, that's Duane Allman. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, didn't he, unrelated to his guitar playing? Wasn't he married to Cher for a while?
No,
or was that
Greg
Greg
Allman?
Allman?
Greg Allman.
You're thinking Greg Allman, yeah.
Okay.
Duane Allman also came up with the riff for that.
For what?
For Layla, that iconic riff for Layla. So
yeah.
He was good with riffs too. So I think he was well rounded, and as far as that style, that twanginess, I love it. Absolutely.
So wait, did he play rhythm, or Clapton played rhythm, or they traded leads?
I believe they traded leads, but you know, Duane Allman is the listen to the song back. You'll know when it's Duane Allman. He does those kind of screeching, kind of crying notes. I can't imitate it, obviously, but you know.
It was a good try.
Yeah, I tried. But yeah, amazing.
Cool. So, interesting segue to my number 9. A little bit different on the music spectrum for me with my number 9, and that's going to be a guy named Tom Verlaine. He's actually still is, because they're somewhat active, the singer and guitar player of the band Television. Television are a late 70s punk rock band. And second Patti Smith reference, actually. I just realized that now, 2 in a row. Patti Smith once described Tom Verlaine's guitar sound as 1,000 bluebirds screaming. And I think that just perfectly encapsulates his playing. This is a guy where, you know, you listen to his playing, and keep in mind, too, this is punk. How often do you hear guitar solos in punk? But this was a guy that clearly he had Coltrane records in his collection, but also had Grateful Dead records in his collection and Velvet Underground records in his collection. And you hear all those styles. The guitar solo, Marquee Moon, is one of my favorite guitar solos. It's a 10-minute jam. In the vocal department, he just sounds incredible, but it's the guitar that shines, especially that guitar solo. You know, it's simple, but there's just this lushness and this atmosphere that he brings to the band's sound that I just am so absorbed to. I think Marquee Moon might be one of my top 20 favorite albums of all time, but this isn't an albums list. Just a couple songs that I'd recommend. Again, the aforementioned Marquee Moon, the guitar solo especially. A song called Little John Jewel, which was a single that was released before Marquee Moon. And then another track called Days, which is off their sophomore release. Yeah, I think underrated guitar player, but also underrated singer, just overall underrated band. Television, Tom Verlaine, my number 9.
Nice.
My number 9, Eddie Hazel.
Nice.
Also my honorable mentions. Damn it.
Oh, yeah. I first heard Eddie Hazel was, I was looked up, I was into the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like super heavy.
Mm-hmm.
They had they did like the AMAs or something like that. They did they did one of their songs. Then Snoop Dogg came out and did his thing, but they were playing this riff to Red Hot Mama.
Ooh, great song.
Yeah, and I was like the playing was so good. I remember I was in like page 8 of the YouTube comments because everybody's like, "Oh, what's that from?" And then they said like Funkadelic, which led to probably my favorite piece by him, Maggot Brain.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I discovered that. But I really, over the Funkadelic stuff, I liked his only solo album. I always screw up the name. It's Game, Dames, and Guitar Thangs.
That's the CD I was telling you that is yours that I still have.
Yeah,
I've had it for like probably 10 years.
And that one I'm going to have to get back, honestly. That one I'm definitely...
Well, come again. I still have it in storage.
Don't be unreasonable, Dan.
I have it on vinyl, actually.
Oh, yep. So I remember you getting that.
Yeah. He doesn't get the recognition because, unfortunately, he uses like he used like a lot of wah-wah pedal, stuff like that. And people kind of lumped him into like the Jimi Hendrix. Plus, Funkadelic wasn't like mainstream. If you ever heard Funkadelic, they are not.
I think in many ways, it's like sort of a successor to Jimi Hendrix. Like
we
were talking about Hendrix.
If you were talking about like what his sound might have been like Eddie Hazel's, like
exactly, that's what it would have been. I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, but when you talked about Maggot Brain, there's that pretty well-known story when they recorded that song, that guitar solo specifically, where George Clinton was like, "I want you to picture as if I just told you your mother passed away," and that's where that solo came from. Yeah.
I introduced that album to a coworker recently, Dan, and he loved it. He loved it. He was playing it for his kids and everything. Maggot Brain is fantastic.
He had like this, because he actually his drug use was horrible. Horrible. Yeah, because he was only on, I think, 5 or 6 Funkadelic albums, and then he left the band for a while, and they invited him back like when they became Parliament, but only as like you played mostly rhythm, things like that. But that his one solo album is some of the best guitar playing. They do that cover of "I Want You, She's So Heavy."
Yeah, I just listened to that not too long ago.
Yeah,
actually.
by the Beatles. Yeah. And then his version of "California Dreamin'" is like, his guitar work on that is like, as far as like a song structure goes, is my favorite.
I would say that the song Maggot Brain has to be top 5 or 10 at least, probably 5 best guitar pieces of all time.
That
might be one of the very few instances where all 3 of us would probably agree on that.
Yeah, I think so.
I just totally, because he was like extremely influential to John Frusciante.
Sure.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. So that's how I ended up finding him, and I'm so grateful.
Awesome.
Nice. That's a good number 9.
That was a good pick, and I didn't even think of him, but he would also go for honorable mentions.
Nobody thinks of him, and that's the problem.
I know. I'm sorry.
You're right.
I've seen him on a few guitar lists, and he's always like in the 80s.
Yeah, and he really is as good as you're saying. I mean, he's not just.
I think he just got lumped in because like he's black, plays the Stratocaster with like the wah-wah effect a lot, and stuff like that. And I think like everybody just saw him as like a complete carbon copy.
Like a Hendrix clone.
He has his own style.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's another guy,
was very much against him.
Yeah. He's another guy, though, and again, this was another reason,
New Jersey native too.
Well, really? Wow.
Born in Brooklyn, and they grew up in Plainfield.
Shout out to Jersey, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Jersey. But yeah, he's another one of those guys. Again, another kind of thing that I approached this or aspect that I sort of was thinking of when I put together this list was like instantly recognizable when you hear him playing.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm gonna go to my number 8 if that's cool. If you guys are good. Andrew, you're gonna be very happy to hear this. Mick Ronson is number 8.
Hey,
yeah, Mick Ronson. And hugely, I think our Bowie discography series has influenced. I've always loved Mick Ronson, but because I love that era of Bowie so much. But I think the more, even just like revisiting those albums and listening to all that stuff, he was incredible. Dan, you'll appreciate this. I actually, while preparing for this video, listened to Solo on 10th Avenue, which is that guitar piece on that solo album of his. Amazing guitar work. So it wasn't even just the Bowie stuff, like the stuff he did solo as well. He was one of those guys where he wasn't super flashy either, but I think we talked about this on one of our episodes. I think it was the Ziggy Stardust episode. He reminds me in a way, although he has his own style and really doesn't play a lot like David Gilmour, but he knows when to hit those notes. You know, he just has a perfect way of crafting a really, really great solo. And also, I mean, we're talking guitar players, but, you know, I didn't realize until we did our series how great of a like songwriter and multi-instrumentalist he was as well. So it sounds like Bowie really couldn't have done half the things he wanted to do in the early 70s during that period without him. So
how did he die?
I don't remember.
Cancer. Don't quote me on that.
Sure.
Did he die like old, or did he die?
He's in the 90s, early 90s?
Early 90s, because they reunited during the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. But he also features on Black Tie, White Noise, which would have been 93-ish.
Oh, okay. So, I don't know what he died from. My favorite, just to wrap it up, my favorite, the song that I think really, where I'm going with this, Moonage Daydream. That solo at the end of Moonage Daydream, oh my God, the way he just makes it soar up, makes that song. Love it. Love it.
I think a good chunk of that Ziggy Stardust episode was just you and I just
gushing on Mick Ronson
over Moon Age Daydream.
Oh God, I love that song. And there's so many other great examples. I mean, you look at pretty much anything else from the album Ziggy Stardust, all the great guitar work he does in Aladdin Sane. He's a very, very good guitar player. Oh, and even look at something like The Man Who Sold the World.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking of that.
The riffing he does in that,
so catchy. Yeah.
He's fantastic. Love Mick Ronson.
So, talking about copy and pasting here, but my number 8 just so happens to be Mick Ronson as well.
That's awesome. All right.
So, nice. I mean, pretty much ditto everything you just said. Something I don't think either one of us talked about in the Bowie discography series is their relationship, and Bowie has worked with incredible people, but their relationship to me, that era, just reminds me so much of Jagger and Richards.
Yeah.
Their dynamic. The dynamic that Bowie and Mick Ronson had is just incredible. But I mean, I'm drawn to him for the same reasons you are. Just the simplicity. He's not over flashy. He knows when to stay his welcome. It's by all means not the Mick Ronson show, and that's largely because, well, it's the David Bowie show, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Whether it's bluesy, I mean, I definitely hear a lot of classical influence. We've gone on and on in the Bowie discography about the composer Mick Ronson as well, and I think you hear that in his playing as well. But I mean, he's also, talking about a riff machine. I mean, take a song like "Width of a Circle," just so catchy, right?
He gets heavy on that album too, on "Man Who Sold the World."
Totally. But then if you want to talk about more popular stuff, I mean, that riff in the Genie, or even a song like Suffragette City, just classic, right? But then I think of some of his solos as well, like the solo on Life on Mars and the aforementioned Moon Age Daydream. I mean, just go on and on. One thing we talked about during the Aladdin Sane episode is, because of course that's the last Bowie record that he features on. I would have loved to have heard one or two more albums with both Mick Ronson and the great Mike Garson as well.
Yeah, that would have been great.
But just those two, like that's right there is what makes Aladdin Sane so special. But yeah, I mean, I listed my songs already, but Mick Ronson, I think arguably an underrated guitar player. I got to start diving into the solo stuff.
We three should watch that documentary about him. I saw that I saw they had it on YouTube to rent. We should watch that sometime together.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Awesome.
They have a documentary on him?
Yeah, it's narrated by Bowie too. They did it's called The Man Beside Bowie or something like that. It's
okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
It's weird though, those glam rock guys never get a lot of attention.
They deserve it. Like he could really represent to me Mick Ralphs, Mark Bolan. I mean, I know they're all different style guitar players, but as Andrew said, like simple but great,
They all have a subtlety to them for sure.
Yeah. Cool. What's your number 8, Dan?
My number 8, Tony Iommi.
I thought he was going to say
Mick
Ronson.
Hell yeah. My number is Mick Ronson, actually.
Tony Iommi.
So he almost speaks for himself.
Yeah, I agree.
Riffs, I mean, formed an entire genre alone.
Yeah.
I think you touched on him in your top 10 bands episode.
Yeah,
he lost the fingertips and he had to like tune the guitar down, and that's where like the heavy metal tone came from. My favorite work by him is probably Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Oh God, yeah, that riff.
Yeah.
And then he kind of has that acoustic breakdown. So good.
But even like that's some of I wish he would have done more that, like stuff like Fluff, Planet Caravan, the outro to Heaven and Hell.
What's that song? Solitude, I think it's called. It's off of Master Reality. It's another kind of like softy ballady kind of one.
Yeah.
I think that's the name of the song. Yeah.
And it's weird because I didn't get into him. I actually disrespected Tony Iommi back in the day.
How did you disrespect?
I did too.
I just I was like, oh, he doesn't play fast and cool. I guess
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know. And then, because it kind of happened the same way with Rob was Dio Sabbath was kind of like, because we got heavy into Rainbow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Way too heavy.
I remember that.
And then you find Dio Sabbath, and then you hear his playing on that, and you're like, whoa, wait. And that, like, yeah, we kind of like ass backwards.
Oh, it was weird. Yeah. It was weird to discover not discover, but really get into Dio Sabbath before Ozzy Sabbath. But I have just as much appreciation for both.
We were so heavy into Rainbow, we were listening to Ronnie and the Prophets.
Oh yeah.
It was Ronnie and the Prophets, and what's the other one? Elf, right?
Yeah. He's from Cortland, you know, Ronnie Dio, which is like 40 minutes away. It's kind of funny.
Oh, no kidding.
Really?
Yep. They have a Dio Day, which I have not gone to yet, but you guys are more than welcome to come up, and we'll go over to Cortland.
Have you not gone to that?
That's true.
They only do it every 2 years, so I think I got canceled this year because of COVID. But yeah, awesome pick there, Dan.
Nice. All right, buddy, you're number 7.
My number 7 is Robert Fripp of King Crimson. Also did lots of studio stuff.
Shocked he's only your number 7.
Well, I love Fripp. I think he's amazing. But he's below the other people on this list, I think, for a reason. But what I love about Fripp is, again, one of those very totally recognizable guitar players. What's interesting about him, though, is he can really play any form of music, because you get everything from the insanity that is King Crimson, but he's the guy that plays on Heroes by David Bowie. You know, he played on some pop records. You know, he played on Talking Heads. He played on some of Peter Gabriel's records. He played on what's her name? I can't think of her name. Kate Bush. I think didn't he play on one of her? Yeah. I mean, he could play any kind of style of music he wants to. And just honestly, to attempt to keep this short, just watch our King Crimson discography series. You'll know why I like Robert Fripp.
That's right. Shameless plug.
Shout out. I could have picked countless pieces here. I picked Red just because that's the Robert Fripp show, as far as I'm concerned. But any King Crimson, actually, here's an out of the box one that Andrew's gonna scoff at. Is off of Lizard.
Scoffing.
Huh?
He's scoffing right now.
He's scoffing at Lizard. I love that album. Dan actually likes that album too, I remember.
It's my least favorite Crimson album.
He does some amazing guitar playing on that, like acoustic guitar playing on that. So I don't know. I love Fripp. You gotta love a guy who just kind of sits there on a stool and just plays. That's his.
Yeah, does he ever stand up? I forgot about that.
No, he doesn't. When I saw him live, he doesn't.
Well, he's classically trained or something like that, right?
I think so, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. He can play in a classical style. He can play in a blues style. He can play in a jazz style. I mean, he is very, very diverse.
He's all over the place, and don't even get started on Friptronics.
I was literally about to say Friptronics. Like, he really helped innovate some of a lot of like different kinds of ways of playing the guitar. So it's he was a no-brainer to me. I love Robert Fripp.
Awesome. Again, shout out to the King Crimson discography series. Check that out when we were our findings, figuring each other out, right? The early days. Oh, that first episode, I cringe. But anyways, I digress. Number 7. My number 7 is Pete Townsend from a little known band called The Who.
Shout out to him. He'd be on my honorable mentions.
You just had to go there. My mom does that shit. Anyways, you know, what kind of drives me crazy about Townsend is I really do think he's an underrated guitar player, because during that era, you know, 70s guitar players where they were just known for soloing, he is like on that caliber just in terms of like lead playing, right? But that wasn't really his thing. But when he did it, boy, did he do it.
Live at Leeds, dude.
Live at Leeds is a great example, but also just a riff king, right?
Yeah.
Townsend as a whole is just a visionary. We were talking about him, the three of us, the other day off camera, and one thing I had said about him, why I'm so drawn to Pete Townsend is he's a songwriter first, and a guitar player second.
Mhm.
And the way he approaches the guitar is for the sole purpose of the songwriting. I really gravitates. There's some irony with doing these lists, in the sense, for me at least, that my favorite bands, I kind of gravitate towards what everyone is contributing. So there's not one standout instrument, like, whether it's the guitar player, bass, whatever the case may be. I'm really drawn to bands that where every member contributes something. And I think the Who, in terms of rock music, are kind of like the first to approach, rock and roll that way. I could go on and on about Pete Townsend. Rob, I gotta say, I when we were talking about him the other day, I gotta disagree in terms of just the musicianship. And Whistle and Moon may be the greatest rock and roll rhythm section, but Townsend deserves to be on the caliber of those three for sure.
I think he is really great. I was mostly saying that I think he's overshadowed by them, but I don't think he's. I think honestly, it's hard to say who the most talented of the band is. They're, as you said, they're best as a collective, but you always hear about Moon and Twistle too.
I think it's the three of them. Dare I say, Daltrey is the underdog of the band, and I'm saying that about one of the greatest rock singers of all time. But I would give that to him if anything, but I don't want to digress.
The other thing that Townsend has that you can't deny is what is more iconic than the dun dun dun. Like, is there a more iconic image than Pete Townsend doing the windmill?
The windmill and the smashing guitar. I mean, that was punk rock 10 years before punk rock was even a thing. You know?
Pete Townsend is definitely he's one of those guys that isn't put in the same conversation for sure, but he does have the chops, but you're right, he doesn't really display it as much as
he shows it off on the live stuff.
Yes, he does. Live at Leeds. That's why I was
There was
saying.
another one where it was Eric Clapton. I think it was like Live at the Rainbow.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah, where he that's like the first time I was like, oh wow, yeah, he can like really play.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying to you before, is that he really brings it out live. But in the studio, it's a different mindset. Very much Brian Wilson, like similar to Brian Wilson in that aspect. Very much a studio guy. But just as far as a few tracks go, I think this is something Rob and I both agree on. I know, at least. I'm a singles Who guy. I love my 60s Who.
Oh yeah.
So for me, songs like My Generation, I Can See for Miles, Substitute, which I think borderline hits jazz playing. But then speaking of live at Leeds, Summertime Blues, man. That song is a great representation of the flashy side of Townsend, if you will. So that's my number 7.
Nice.
Pinball Wizard too. Great.
Oh yeah. And Baba O'Reilly. I love that.
Of course, yeah.
That
Baba
riff,
O'Reilly is another one. Won't Get Fooled Again. Yeah, just keep going on about Townsend.
Yeah, we can keep talking about
it. They have a lot of songs.
I know, they're so good.
My Generation, which, just throwing that out there just so we don't forget it, but that riff started a whole lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So many.
No,
that's got to be the foundation for punk rock, right? My Generation.
I would say My Generation and You Really Got Me, the Kinks.
Yeah.
And even I'd call it even not just punk but riff rock, just those big riffs,
Well, they do a lot of that downstrike like
yeah.
Like the punk, like I don't think the Ramones I don't think they ever came up on the guitar. I think it was always just
a song like My Generation, and largely due to Townsend's playing. I don't think that song gets talked about enough in terms of songs that are just monumental and rock.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Because when did My Generation come out?
65.
Yeah, like that song was like so rock and roll.
Oh, totally, yeah.
In 65,
yeah. And again, I think You Really Got Me might have been late 64, but again, around the same time.
Yeah.
And just both those two songs in terms
of the Kinks weren't throwing their guitars through amps.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Pete Townsend was doing that as well.
And the Kinks didn't have nearly as much good stuff as the Who did, but that's a different story.
Watch it, because the Kinks are one of my favorite bands. Anyways, your number 7.
They suck.
All right, sudden death. Here we go.
Number 7, Gary Rossington and Alan Collins, Leonard Skinner fame.
Nice.
Okay.
As far as soul goes, ability, diversity, now you would think Leonard Skinner is not diverse, but they are.
Oh, I would agree with that.
They have But some of the like the riff for Simple Man, one of the most soulful. I like guitar players that you can hear like the emotion.
Yeah, you definitely can. The way
I mean, to be cliche, you have to give it like Freebird was obviously like their best work, especially off of that one live album. Anytime you hear it live, it's always the best. The slide work off of Tuesday's Gone. One of my favorite riffs on The Hunt, which was off of the Nuttin' Fancy. You have to say it. That's how it's
it's nut and fancy.
There you go.
That's not like nuttin' fancy, just like
Yeah.
I'm joking. You can edit that out.
Now we're keeping it.
No, we're keeping it.
We don't,
and then
raw, baby.
And then like honestly, they like even when you're like trying to figure out guitar, and if you learn like you learn like the riff to Sweet Home Alabama or something like that, like you can just tell they had fun.
Oh yeah.
And you saw when we watched the Behind the Music Leonard Skinner, the Alan Collins segment was.
Oh God, that man.
Yeah,
poor man.
That was rough. But yeah, no, the Give Me 3 Steps riff. They have one song, Georgia Peaches, which was like this really like southern twangy.
Yep.
Playing like just like they were able to kind of hard rock, blues rock. The twangy country stuff.
Yeah, they were one of the best ones.
And when you hear them live, and they're like the live version of Freebird, like they'll trade the lead off and then land like on the same note for the parts that are like in unison, like just great players.
Andrew, have you ever heard of the album, or have you ever heard the album One More for the Road?
No.
That's a live album by them. It's very good.
Okay.
Really showcases a lot of what
Andrew has nothing. You don't like Leonard Skinner.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a Skinner fan, but I don't know. Maybe you're making me reconsider a little bit.
Listen to the live record to give you kind of something a little different.
You have to take them like at face value, where it's like they are good old boys from the depths of Florida.
Sure.
One thing you didn't mention, Dan, that I think it applies to them too is the riffs. I think that their riffing, they wrote some really iconic like. Is there anything more iconic than the bang?
Yeah. What's weird is like
everybody knows that.
like they would have like the rebel flag hanging off the stage.
Yeah.
Like you would just think like they were a bunch of like rednecks, which they were. But like songs like That Smell and oh my God, man, I'm drawing a blank. The one about the gun.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember, but like That Smell, it's about like use the environment.
Yep.
Then
is that a Skinner song?
That Smell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's just funny because that
didn't know that.
I got to think of that one. But anyway, it's like like about like guns are bad type of thing.
Right.
It's just weird because you would think that these guys would have been like Yosemite Sam up on stage.
What tarnation?
Let them go. But yeah, just and the slide work honestly is like
God, yeah.
Tuesday's Gone, amazing slide work.
That is a good song. I'll say that.
One of my favorite things ever, and this could apply to a couple of guitar players here, which I'll get to on my list, and Skinner does really well, is the pairing of the guitar kind of versus the piano or keyboards.
Yeah.
And they do that really well. Billy Powell on the keyboards. They'll just, it's another reason why I love like Dwayne Allman. He would fall into a similar category, like him and Greg Allman playing off each other. That's some of my favorite kind of guitar playing and jamming. So Skinner were masters at that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, despite the fact that yes, I've been very vocal, in terms of my feelings of Skinner, there were a lot of points that you made that I absolutely agree with, and I think the one that stands out, and again, it's just when I think of my favorite guitar players that I gravitate towards is the emotion, and you definitely feel that in their playing for sure.
Oh yeah,
especially in songs like Simple Man, Freebird, Tuesday's Gone.
It's not much of like a lead in the sense, so like they're just shredding it, but like man, the way the drums like the boom boom bam, like they just like that whole song is just like you can hear.
They're definitely in sync. Every band member, for sure. Kind of what I was saying about the Who before.
Plus, Alan Collins plays my most favorite guitar, the Gibson Explorer.
Ooh, nice.
So if anybody's got 1400 laying around, I'd like to order.
Hey, Send us a Gibson Explorer so we can give it to Dan. We'll do an unboxing.
We'll do a plug. We'll do Gibson. Play it now.
There you go.
Like that.
There you go.
All right, so Rob, you're number 6. Oh, geez, we're only in number 6.
Yeah, my number 6. I'll try to be short and sweet from now.
You're fine. I'm just kidding.
Number 6 is also Tony Iommi. I think I'm just gonna echo pretty much everything that Dan said. He's what I would add to it is just he's one of those guys, it's him when he's playing. Iconic. Love talking about guitars. Love his friggin' SG. Yep. He's just like you said. He invented a genre and way of playing guitar, and he was amazing. The song I picked was "Symptom of the Universe" off of Sabotage. Why did I pick "Symptom of the Universe"? It has the 3 basic Tony Iommi ingredients, and it displays them all perfectly. 1, you get the simple dun 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 dun, the simple kind of like riff. You also get the amazing guitar solo at the end, but then at the end of the song, it breaks down into an acoustic like piece that's amazing. I just love the way that song ends. Just amazing. Other highlights, Heaven and Hell, obviously. We could be here all day. You guys know
Sign of the Southern Cross. I forgot.
Yeah, Sign of the Southern Cross. Or even
That's
something like
song.
his playing on Planet Caravan or Fluff, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
The riffs. I don't need to mention them. Black Sabbath, NIB, Paranoid, Iron Man. Children of the Grave. Enough. Let's move on.
So my number 6 is John McLaughlin. John McLaughlin was in Miles Davis' electric era of the band, but was also in a jazz fusion group called Mahaveshu Orchestra in the early mid-70s.
They're kind of proggy. I've kind of heard them.
Borderline proggy for sure. Yeah. And while I'm not as familiar with the Mahaveshu Orchestra, it's my favorite era of Miles Davis. John McLaughlin debuted on In a Silent Way, which is my favorite Miles album. And that record came out during a really unique time in music for 2 reasons, mainly. One, psychedelia, of course, 69 at its peak, but also Miles was in a transition phase just himself. Miles was very much in tune with what was going on, specifically with the likes of Hendrix, Zappa, but even the Beatles as well. And just his playing, especially on In a Silent Way, that alone, I would put it at number 1. It's just very spacey, but also just very lush sounding. You can just get lost into it. I can't really think of any other guitar music where I've ever just gotten lost into. And again, those 2 songs on In a Silent Way just really stand out for me. Jeff Beck has said that John McLaughlin is the greatest guitar player alive. So
there you go.
Take that for what you will, but there you go. You've got that. But he just brought so much to that era of Miles, and those 4 records that he plays on are all just very different.
Does he play on Bitches Brew?
He plays on Bitches Brew, which
I get it. Yeah,
the peak of that era of Miles. But then a record like A Tribute to Jack Johnson is the most rocking Miles has ever sounded, and that just comes directly from John's playing. And then all the way to a record like On the Corner, which is like very funky. I hear a lot of hip hop influence as far as that record goes. A lot of those 90s hip hop guys. But anyways, I just think he's very all over the place. And when putting this list together, I think it's time to now revisit Mahaveshu Orchestra. I know he goes even more out there with that group as well too. And I think Rob, you would really dig them as well.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of them. They're always on prog lists and stuff, so they're a band I need to check out a bit more.
But just based off those 4 Miles studio albums and then just the various live stuff.
You got me thinking like Wes Montgomery. He's another great guitar player.
Yeah, sure.
Jazzy. There's too many, man.
John McLaughlin, man. And actually my only jazz guitar, kind of, sort of, but you'll see. But yeah, I guess my only jazz guitar player on my list, number 6. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mention, for him, he was the only one I didn't mention songs. Again, just check out those 4 Miles records. In a Silent Way, Bitches Brew, Tribute to Jack Johnson, and yes, as in Jack Johnson the boxer, and On the Corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, you're number 6.
Number 6, David Gilmour.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
I approve of this message.
never flashy. Like, I mean, he has like moments, but he never like, not known for like the crazy technique, all that type of stuff. Just some of the best guitar playing as a whole. Like, obviously, Comfortably Numb probably being some of it, like that solo. When we talk about like soul, passion in a solo, that thing has it all. One of my favorite pieces by him guitar work wise is Any Color You Like.
Oh God, yeah.
We were talking about that
he gets like just like super fun. I don't know, you could just tell like when he was playing that riff to it, like he was into it. And then the album that actually, because I did you know I did not like Pink Floyd?
Yes.
I did not like them at all. And Rob used to get very, very mad at me. And then one night he was in his room chilling, listening to Animals. And I think I heard Dogs.
Oh, that song, man. Whew.
Yeah, I was saying to him yesterday, speaking of Dogs, come at me, Rob. His best guitar lick. No question.
It's up there, but no.
Take your Comfortably Numb somewhere else. Dogs for the win.
Wow.
But anyways.
You have to give it to, like, almost have to give it to.
No, I will admit that Comfortably Numb's not my number one.
The way that solo,
but
the way that solo comes in, it's just like.
And you know what's really
it is iconic for sure.
Like
you know what's really interesting about Comfortably Numb too is how, and that whole album, The Wall, is just how much pressure and how much like the band members were butting heads, and you get a piece of music like that, it's very interesting.
Even speaking of The Wall, like Hey You.
Oh yeah.
I mean, his acoustic work, Wish You Were Here, obviously.
How about the solo in Time?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God, the solo. Weird story about Time. When I was getting a test done at the hospital for like a gallbladder issue, and they pumped this like weird. I don't know. The guy's like, "Oh, you're gonna feel a little funny." Yeah. And I got like this real warm feeling. Time.
Did you become comfortably numb?
No, the time, like I got like this stuff like hit your body, and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell?" I heard Time in my head while that was.
Oh, that's pretty great.
Going on. It was the weirdest. I forgot all about that. But yeah, David and his soul. I actually listened to On an Island, which has this tropical. It's like I don't want to say Jimmy Buffett meets Pink Floyd, but almost like in the sense where it's like that. It's like a little beachy, but he has like just like the most melodic. Like his solos, like you can fall asleep to him. Just like I don't know.
He's so
beautiful, beautiful playing.
Again, like we were talking about with Mick Ronson, and we use David Gilmour as the example. Just knows exactly when to hit those notes. Yeah.
I think you showed me the live at Pompeii.
Live at Pompeii. That's some amazing work right there. Even the earlier Pink Floyd stuff, he does some amazing work on.
Oh, yeah. The early Floyd in general is just so overlooked. But I was just thinking, actually, I think my favorite Gilmour moment, and I forget the name of it, but it was actually a bootleg. I want to say it was the Animals tour. Yeah, it was the Animals tour because on that tour, they did all of Wish You Were Here and Animals. So they didn't really promote Wish You Were Here too much because they were still pretty much promoting Dark Side at that point. But the outro to Shine On You Crazy Diamond. It's basically him and the Rick White show, and it's just
I love that.
The two of them, just the contrast of the keyboards and the guitar. My favorite Gilmour moment for sure. It's off a bootleg.
And the one you guys didn't mention is Echoes.
Of course,
which that whole middle section with again him and Reich playing off each other, amazing. There's too many great Gilmour moments.
Welcome to the Machine.
Oh my God, yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
I think he's one of those players though that lumps in with like Pete Townshend though, where like Pink Floyd just like as a whole was like perfect.
You Pink Floyd was the first band I thought of when you were saying before, Andrew, about you think the best stuff with bands is when they're all working together. That's my favorite Pink Floyd era. I love the Roger Waters stuff, but when he really started to take over, that was when. Like, and I still love The Wall too, but like stuff like The Final Cut falls a bit for me. And I don't think, for example, an album like The Wall is quite as strong as, although The Wall has its moments, believe me, I still love The Wall. But like the Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, that kind of era has always been my favorite. Metal, that kind of stuff.
The Wall is a live experience, and that might have to be a rant for another time.
Oh my God, what's that one off in Metal? I'm looking it up right now. I'm cheating.
San Tropez. Fearless, that's it. Yeah.
Fearless, yeah.
Fearless. His strumming on that's
great. Like, oh my God, just what great playing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, we're really going on tangent here.
Yeah.
So
No, it's okay. So your number 5, right?
My number 5 is a man by the name of Alex Lifeson, and he is another one that is underrated in my opinion. Maybe not so much these days. I think a lot of people actually talk about him in terms of his guitar playing. But again, another riff master, super diverse playing. I could name a million songs. The one I picked was 2112, just because you get everything. You get everything. Like you know what I mean? What you get the riffs. You get honestly one of his best moments is on that song during the second part where he finds the guitar and Alex Lifeson like starts tuning the guitar up, and like he finds the guitar and he's like playing it. That's one of like the best moments by him, and he's basically singing along. Getty's basically singing along with what Alex Lifeson's doing.
Yep.
I don't know. I could name a bunch of Alex Lifeson moments, but I think and even in like the later era, I mean, I know he kind of in the 80s got overshined by, kind of like he was drowned out in the keyboards of the 80s, but he still has some great moments on like Signals and Moving Pictures for sure. Some of the other 80s era stuff too. He adapted to it as well as he could, but he still did a lot of really good. He has a lot of good moments in some of those records, and I don't know. He's always been pretty solid, I think. And again, he's one of those guys that has his own tone that it's him playing.
He was amazing live.
Yes, he was amazing live. He also gets bonus points for that. I think it was the second time when the three of us went to see him at it was the Time Machine tour. It was his night. He was on fire.
Yeah, I never forget. And you guys know I'm not, the biggest shredding fan, but what he was shredding on Working, man.
Oh God, yeah, that's one of his best. That's one of his best.
Still
moments.
Get goosebumps just thinking about.
Well,
I liked him when we saw him at the Prudential Center.
Yeah. Yes.
And he had that solo spot where he had like the acoustic was up on the little
on
the stand, and that smoke, like that the smoke machine coming out on him.
And I think he kind of suffers from the same thing that I will argue, that Pete Townsend suffers from, where he is legitimately an amazing musician, but because Neil Peart is the drummer of Rush and Getty is so well known too, like he's usually kind of ends up being the one that falls by the wayside, but he is just as talented as the other two. And without him, Rush would not be the same.
Rush is one of the few bands that I can think of, along with the Police and Talking Heads, where the guitar player is probably the least well known,
which is
in
weird.
The band.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Which is a little weird.
Another one, which I think you'll appreciate, Andrew, Xanadu. I love the solo in Xanadu. He's another one though. He can be flashy, but he can also be really soulful.
It's a good balance for sure.
The way he plays,
especially for a prog guitar player. There's a prog
guitar player, especially. Yeah, I mean, he has some amazing moments. La Villa Stringata. I'm just gonna keep naming songs. So just
you can go on.
Yeah, we can just go on.
Go on. Just go on.
Yeah, no, and I think, Lifeson's a good pick. Unfortunately, he didn't make my list. I mean, he's great, and I think like you had pointed out, he, not only him, but I think Rush as a whole has really finally overdue, but finally gotten their due. I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's great.
I think a lot of that has to do with that movie.
Yeah.
The one with Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
It's they don't forget, they were popping up all over kind of pop culture and movies and stuff. And like I remember Neil, like remember the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie? It's like this is Neil. Hey.
Oh yeah.
All right. Anyways, moving
on.
My number 5 is Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. I think my most contemporary guitar player in my top 10, which is weird even saying contemporary, applying to Radiohead because they've been around for forever. The best comparison I can make to Johnny Greenwood is he reminds me of the Edge of U2 but goes further out in like the art rock stratosphere, if you will. Johnny Greenwood's interesting because there's just no connection to the blues, and there's no connection to traditional soloing. In many, many aspects, Johnny Greenwood is not your traditional guitar player, which is why I probably gravitate towards him in many ways. When he does attack the guitar, he attacks it like a violin player, so much so that he's been known to use a bow when playing the guitar on some of the heavier tracks, but also some of like the more ambient stuff as well. I whether it's early Radiohead, I just love how heavy the guitar sounds. Again, like he's pounding the thing. I think of a song like Blowout off the first record, which is like borderline shoegaze almost. But then he just some of the like most beautiful guitar licks you'll ever hear, with stuff like the bends, song like Lucky, Let Down. I can go on and on. But then again, I think of a song like Paranoid Android, where he's just pounding that fucking guitar.
Yeah.
And then when they got more experimental with the electronics with Kid A and stuff like that, how he was using the guitar. I mean, he was creating electronic effects, loopholes with his guitar. There's a song off Kid A called Tree Fingers, where it's just this ambient piece, but that's actually from a guitar. I think he plugged it into a Moog synthesizer and just did his thing. And what sounds like just this ambient electronica, like almost like Aphex Twin piece, is coming from a frickin' guitar.
That kind of reminds you of like the way Adrian Belew makes those kind of sound effects.
Yeah.
I mean, differently, but yeah.
For sure, yeah, that's a good comparison too, actually. Just overall, the best way I could describe Johnny Greenwood and his approach to the guitar is this is a guy that is deconstructing the guitar. And I think that's why I'm so fascinated with him. Again, I mentioned songs, Tree Fingers is worth checking out just to really like hear like, oh my God, this is a guitar making these sounds. Blowout, again, if you want bumping guitar, Paranoid Android. But then if you just want some lush playing, you can't go wrong with songs like Weird Fishes or Arpeggi. And Reckner is another great song as well. Dan had to step out, so I'm going to keep rambling on here the best I can. Yeah, I don't know. Also kind of similar to Mick Ronson in the sense too, where Johnny Greenwood's also a composer. He does all Paul Thomas Anderson's soundtracks. So he deconstructs like a lot of like minimalist classical composers do. But he approached the guitar again like Townsend, like Mick Ronson, as a composer as well. And I just think that's a really neat way of approaching guitar playing.
Nice.
So,
we lost Dan.
We lost Dan. He had to step out.
That's right. I'll cut this out. So that
okay.
Okay.
That's fine. You good? All right, he's back.
I'm back.
All right.
I love the blue glow of your microphone, by the way. I keep like gravitating towards it.
Fixated by it.
Number 5, I think I'm saying his name right. Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Nice.
I like talk about that Pearl. When they did 10. I mean, that you could almost argue it's more of like a hard rock album in a way than a grunge album. Favorite solo off of that is the one he does on The Garden, just one of those. I mean, I think I sent you a detailed message on how I felt about that.
We got a very detailed message about this.
Yeah.
Dan's
one of two of our group chats.
But just like one of those guys that play, I mean, when he does acoustics, some of the most beautiful work, little, like you'll hear them do some punk rock type stuff. Like,
nice.
I mean, just that guy, like I listen to that guy and it's like, holy crap, this guy like just stretches. Like pretty much Eddie Vedder's like, I'm in like a Clash mood. I want to make that kind of song. And he's like, okay. He's just my favorite solo by him is actually probably off of Red Mosquito, like his guitar work.
What's that off
of that? That's off of name of that album, the 4th album.
Oh, which one is that? I can't think of it either right now. I have the album cover in my head.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it's got like the collage stuff on it. Another one, and he got a song. It's called "Off He Goes" off of that same album. Eddie Vedder and the rhythm guitar player have a lot to do with it too. But you can hear like his fills and stuff. Just
nice.
One of the best, most underrated guitar players.
Yeah, I would agree.
I've ever heard.
Stone Gossard's the rhythm.
Yeah,
underrated as well.
Yeah,
both of them.
I mean, he's at a slight advantage because like Eddie Vedder can play guitar, so you could, but like his work is just, like he just transcends. He can play anything.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to listen to more of him. I just mostly
even like that song. I think I was playing it when we were up there. Present tense.
Oh yes, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it's like that open D tuning, but like it's made like because I was like, oh, I wonder how you play that, and it's like some of that he doesn't even like. There's no fingering. It's just like open strings, and it's like I don't know. His playing is just so good.
Awesome.
Nice.
I like that. That was a bit.
Think about what's that? The yellow.
Oh,
Ledbetter, something like that.
Yeah, Yellow Better. It's a B side. It's like their biggest song.
Yeah. But like you hear that, and
it's
like you can hear like the Hendrix influence in the style of that playing. But I guess he was one of those guys though that came up mostly on like that hard rock stuff. But it was, which I guess also led to beef between them and Pearl Jam or Nirvana. Because Kurt Cobain didn't like the fact that they had like the guitar solos and things like of that nature.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah.
Andrew's like, I will defend Nirvana.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Nirvana is overrated in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. That's a conversation for another time. Soundgarden and Alice in Chains for the win. But
do you guys want to have a shit on Nirvana podcast?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
All right. Number 4.
My number 4 is Mr. Steve Howe from Yes. Mood for a Day. That's it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mood for a Day. That's it. Like, I saw Yes live. I couldn't keep my eyes off this man. As far as like acoustic playing, he has a solo album called Not Necessarily Acoustic, which he does all of the Yes stuff. Like, it's not all Yes stuff, but it's a couple like little solo things. I think he does a cover or two, and then he does a bunch of Yes songs, and he does it all with just an acoustic guitar. Amazing. As far as acoustic guitar players, he's probably my favorite one on this list. I love that I don't know if he's classically trained or not, but he certainly has a lot of a classical style to his playing. But he's not just a classical player. He can, you hear a song like The Clap, very country kind of twangy playing, very like psychedelic-y kind of playing in Yes's songs. He really just he's probably, I would say, the guy who is maybe the most technical on the list, but he also still has a way of playing with emotion too. Like I think of a song like And You and I, and just like the beautiful like intro to that song, or even just something, even like his playing on Close to the Edge, the actual, really the whole album, but the 20-minute opening
title track. Yeah,
he goes all over the place, man. He can play everything from like a psychedelic style to, like I said, a classical style to a sort of hard rockish style to even metal, to a song like Machine Messiah, some of the playing he does there. And I just always really like Steve Howe's guitar playing has always been probably the number one draw for me for Yes, believe it or not.
There's got to be also a Latin influence to his playing.
I think so, yeah.
Song like Roundabout, but also the guitar solo on the Queen song Innuendo.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He has that like Latin
that's
flavor.
Him.
Yeah. I know it's him. I didn't even think of that, but you're right. He the guitar, that solo in Innuendo is fantastic. I've always loved Steve Howe. He has such a unique way of playing, and he plays like in terms of like the great old rock players like that, even with the prog guys, you can hear that sort of rock style, but it's almost absent in his playing. That's the one area where he really doesn't ever play is blues. He never plays that kind of rooted rock blues style, but I like that. It works for Yes, it works for his solo stuff. Amazing. Steve Howe I've always loved him.
Nice. Yeah, you can't go wrong with him, especially some of those iconic Yes records. Another one that didn't quite make my list, let alone honorable mentions. But again, everything you said, I completely agree.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
So that brings me to my number 4. So my top 4, at this point they're interchangeable. They really are. The remaining 4. But for now, I'm going to go with Neil Young as my number 4.
Nice. I love Neil.
I've expressed on other episodes of this podcast, despite the fact we haven't done a Neil Young one, I've expressed my love for Neil Young. And, I think you had said it, Rob, during your honorable mentions. Definitely not the flashiest guitar player. Definitely not, the most technically proficient. But he's another one. Again, the way he just approaches the guitar, whether it's the one-note solo to a sound like Down by the River, or again, the word thumping keeps coming up in my vocabulary today, but the way he just pounds that guitar on,
it's very dirty. I like it.
Everybody knows This Is Nowhere to a song like a Hurricane, whatever.
Cortez the Killer.
But then he gets really spacey with a song like Cortez the Killer, while also really heavy as well.
Yep.
He's a guy that he really explores the sonic textures of the guitar.
Yeah.
Very feedback frenzy. I mean, definitely there's a reason why he's considered the godfather of grunge.
Yeah.
Right. But even just you hear the influence of his playing in bands like Sonic Youth, the Jesus and the Mary Chain,
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. They did a record together for Christ's sake. It's such an awesome collab in the mid '90s. But yeah, man, I mean, Young is a guy I can go on about. Huge discography.
Yeah.
But just some songs, and Neil's a guy, I love everything. I love the soloing. I love the rhythm. I love.
Yeah, his acoustic guitar playing is great too.
His acoustic playing. I recommend all things Neil, just in terms of the guitar player Neil.
Even with the Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Even the Stephen Stills record, he did just the two of them. I mean, there's singer Neil, there's songwriter Neil, but we're talking about guitar player Neil. If you want to hear some great soloing, check out a song like Cortez the Killer again. On the Beach, the title track off my favorite Neil Young album. If you want heavy Neil, check out Rockin' in the Free World. Check out pretty much the first half of Rust Never Sleeps. But if you want acoustic Neil, check out pretty much anything off of Harvest, anything off After the Gold Rush.
Oh yeah.
I could just go on and on.
The playing he does on the Protest song. Oh my God, it's with Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Ohio? You're not thinking of Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's some great, like the little opening riff and everything.
Or like Mr. Soul, that's a good song.
Yep.
Did you guys ever see? I think Neil Young and Led Zeppelin were when
they were inducted.
Oh my God, yeah.
You ever see that? It's weird. It's like Jimmy Page, I think, plays rhythm. Robert Plant plays some lead, and Neil just goes fucking crazy.
Well, there's some backstory.
That's a great video, yeah.
Jimmy Page had a broken finger or something like
that.
Oh,
that's why. Okay.
Prohibit him to play like normal Jimmy Page, essentially. So that's why you see Plant soloing, and of course Neil Young. And it is a weird dynamic. You're making me want to go back and check out that performance.
Yeah, that was a long time. That one always stands out for me. I'm like, oh yeah, Neil Young, and the whole time he's going like this.
Yeah,
he's like he has that very stiff way of like moving. It's so good.
Yeah, he's always been like that. Cinnamon Girls, another great song if you want. Again, that thumping, rhythm machine Neil. I mean, he's everything. He just check mark for all categories. Just in terms of his guitar playing.
Yeah,
we haven't even gotten into the singer Neil, like I said, and the songwriter Neil. But that's a video for another day.
Yep.
So that's my number 4, Neil Young. What's your number 4?
My number 4, Slash.
Nice.
Of Guns N' Roses fame. Slash is just one of those guys that made me want to play guitar, just because it's like you see a picture of him and it's like you look
just the swagger of Slash.
You look, if you picture a guitar player in your head, you will make an image of Slash. It's just but his playing. But I mean, he came around with like that brought back like that hard rock Zeppelin-esque type guitar playing, like when like metal and hard rock in its own was saturated.
Yeah.
It's all could be. And like my favorite guitar solo by him is actually Civil War.
I love that.
Yeah.
I actually think some of his best playing too is post Guns N' Roses, like him when he did the Miles Kennedy album, the album with him, and he did that one solo album with all those guests as singers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of guys like Chris
He's
Cornell's
just one of those
on
guys
that,
like you always know it's him when he starts playing. And like his acoustic work, the whole GNR Lies, like the second half of that album, great acoustic. I actually heard one that he did with that Miles Kennedy guy, acoustic version of Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
That song, even, I mean, as far as riffs go, that I know that song gets overplayed, but that's still one of my favorite riffs. Just the tone he has in that song is really great.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't listen to like much past like Appetite and then like select songs off of like Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, but because honestly, Axl Rose pisses me off sometimes.
Yeah. Fuck that guy, right?
Fun fact.
But like you can't like I'll listen, like I was revisiting them making this list, and I was like, yeah, this guy is like just everything you would want in a guitar player.
Yeah, and because you brought up Civil War, which is just such a great deep cut, even the Appetite deep cuts I just don't think are represented enough.
Oh, yeah.
And with his playing specifically, I mean, a song like Night Train.
Night Train, Mr. Brownstone.
Mr. Brownstone, Rocket Queen.
Yep.
Like, and the fact that he played as well as he did, as like messed up as he would get before impressive. And it's,
Yeah.
I saw a couple live videos, and you can just tell, like, wow, Slash is way past drunk at this point. And he's still like note for note, like right in that pocket.
He's another guy. He should have also been in my honorable mentions. Yeah, he's a very iconic player for a reason. But like you said, it's not even just he could hang his top hat on like just about like on his playing alone, but he also has the image of him with the cigarette and the top hat and the hair.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like all the way around. Like car hung low, like, and especially at the time when like GNR was needed to kind of help bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Into like the grunge and stuff like that. Because like as much as I do love some '80s hair metal, it was getting.
Oh god, it needed some kind of change.
Their timing was definitely good in many ways, but also kind of interesting in a lot of aspects, because they really were like, once grunge went into full effect, they were like the only ones that really kind of survived it.
Oh yeah.
Like them and Metallica, not that Metallica's glam, but like just strictly metal.
They were always like as if like Aerosmith and Rolling Stones just had like a meth fueled baby, like a cocaine.
They had a one night stand with Motley Crue.
That's literally, I think that's spot on right there.
Yeah, like if you think about it, like you had the Stones, and then the '70s came, you had Aerosmith, and then like '80s was like GNR, but like always carried on, like because Rolling Stones started that whole like bad boys of rock and roll vibe, and like GNR waved that flag quite well. And you can't underestimate Izzy Stradlin too, just thinking about him now off the top of my head. When I was going through like listening to some of the Guns, especially some of their live stuff, it's like, oh wow, that guy really like helped like allowed Slash to do what he did. But
definitely.
I just think it's like, as far as you want, complete guitar player, iconic image, the whole nine, he's up there.
Yeah. Oh, you have to. Yeah, I agree. He's not on my list, but he would be one of those guys who, there's just too many freaking guitar players, man. Like you can't name all of them. Top 10 just doesn't do it justice.
I picked it because I actually I like the stuff he did with like the Velvet Revolver stuff.
Yeah, Velvet Revolver.
I like the stuff he did with Miles Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like and honestly, like when I hear Miles Kennedy do like Guns N' Roses songs, it's like, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of like, oh, this is the performance they deserve.
Yes.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, almost like a different approach.
Singer,
yeah. Awesome, man. All right, Rob, your number 3.
My number 3 is Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page.
I mean, how can you not, man? It's Jimmy Page. I don't know what else to say. I mean, aside from all the iconic stuff that he played in Led Zeppelin, there's all this. I mean, he did so much session work before Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he
Which a
played
lot of
on
people
some,
don't know.
yeah, he's played on some really famous songs. Like one of them that just popped in my head is Joe Cocker's version of
With a little help
Have
from
a
my
Little
friends.
Help from My Friends. I love that.
Oh shit, that's
yeah,
him.
that's him. That's Jimmy Page.
That's him.
Wow. And then I think it's I might be mixing him up with John Paul Jones, but one of them plays on She's a Rainbow. I think
That's John Paul.
that might be John. Okay, I
that
mixed
was
him
John
up. But
Paul Jones, yeah.
there's tons of examples like that though, where you hear a song and it's like, yeah, that's Jimmy Page on guitar. There's so many.
He sessioned for, I forget the song specifically, but he sessioned for even the Who.
Yeah, I do
Oh
remember
yeah,
that.
yep.
There's also the Yardbird stuff. I mean, Jimmy Page.
That's how the name Led Zeppelin came about.
From Keith Moon.
Yeah,
Yep,
it was his
Keith Moon,
friendship
yeah.
with the Who. Yeah.
But as far as like iconic playing, it's got to be the Led Zeppelin stuff, right? I mean,
Sure.
Everything from that like classical kind of riffing he does on "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You," still some of my favorite stuff. One of my favorite like guitar moments by him, especially the acoustic breakdown. "Stairway to Heaven," it's cliche, but the guitar solo is great. My favorite moment for him is "No Quarter," because I love the tone he has, that crunchy like tone he has in that song. But you can name a bunch. I can name a bunch of songs. "When the Levee Breaks," that's some of his best riffing. That dirty blues sound. Still to this day, one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. The acoustic playing on something like "Over the Hills and Far Away," or even I think the Zeppelin 3 stuff is super underrated. You know, a lot of the like the acoustic stuff he does. So he's a very diverse player. He's one of those guys that, you know, instantly recognizable. He's one of those guitar gods that I think has achieved that status for a reason. And yeah, Jimmy Page. I don't think I need to say anything else.
I think
violin bow on Dazed and Confused, or the
violin bow. He also had the double neck. He was like the guy that really made the double neck popular. We could go on.
I think too, and it's probably largely because it's a double LP, but I really think for Page specifically, Physical Graffiti really captures his diverse playing that you were just saying.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily my favorite Zeppelin record, but that would be the one that when I think Jimmy Page and, you know, how diverse of a guitar player he was and still is, Physical Graffiti, I think, really captures that.
Or even, you know, I mean, you could maybe say it's cheating, but like, look at his playing on that Snow Jobs bootleg.
Well, the live stuff, I think, and especially
is unbelievable.
Like Snow Job is a podcast in of itself, right there.
Oh God, yeah, like him live is just a totally different.
Well, that even the instrumental he did off Physical Graffiti. I might be butchering the name. It's like
Bronyar. Yeah, Bronyar.
Yeah.
Rachel loves that song randomly.
I think it's only like a minute and 20.
Yeah.
It's some. I was mad that it wasn't. And I don't know. I'll save it because we know Jimmy Page is coming back around.
But even in Zeppelin alone, I could think of examples where he plays classical style, where he plays blues, where he plays psychedelic style, where he plays hard rock, heavy metal style, where he plays, you know, amazing acoustic folky style. I mean, the guy can do anything on guitar.
And that dragon outfit he wore on Song Remains.
Cannot forget about the dragon outfit.
So yeah, my number 3 is Jimmy Page.
That's awesome. So my number 3 is a number 3 that I was just flabbergasted, Rob, that was in only your honorable mentions. You of all people, that is. And that's going to be Frank Zappa.
Yep.
I'm reading a book right now called The Music and Words of Zappa. And it's just been a great read. And as I'm reading it, I'm re-going through his whole catalog. So it's been a slow process, but an incredible journey. I found a quote earlier today by Trey Anastasio, if I'm saying his name right, from Fish, that basically I think captures Zappa perfectly. And he said, every boundary that was possible on the guitar was examined by him and in ways that other people didn't. So I've already kind of talked about this with some of my other guitar players, Neil, Johnny Greenwood, again, even Pete Townsend to a degree. The way Zappa just approached the guitar, whether it's the earlier Mother stuff, the doo-wop style of playing, to urban blues, to even big band jazz, but also orchestral modernism as well too. Like he was just, I think, really more diverse than any other guitar player. But there's also a simplicity to his playing too. He's another guy again where some of his more catchier songs are just simple guitar licks.
Yep.
You know what I
Especially the
mean?
early Mother's days, you know.
Especially the early Mother stuff, but even like some of like the later 70s, like a song like Dancing Fool, like that song is just so catchy. And that just largely again comes from his guitar playing, but then he gets super fucking complex with stuff like Peaches and Regalia, and come on, we gotta mention Watermelon and Easter Hay.
Oh God, yeah, that's
like,
one of the greatest guitar pieces
if
ever.
you are pursuing guitar playing, you need to listen to that song.
Yeah, that's.
I just like it's just that song is incredible.
That is a song where it's one of those ones where I'd say with like Maggot Brain.
I think I'm gonna hit you because the hands are just in the air.
Like we're from Jersey, you know. But that's a song like Maggot Brain where the whole song is just a piece, like a guitar piece, and there's so much emotion behind it and just real passion, which is interesting from Frank, you know, because he was a very, you know, his personality was very like kind of rigid and stiff a little bit, and he was funny too, but you know, to hear that kind of emotion coming out of that guitar playing in Watermelon and Easter Hay is fantastic. Or Peaches and Regalia, he does some great stuff there too, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, as much as I love Frank, he's one of my favorite musicians. The man himself could have been, you know, couldn't be any more but pretentious, but you want to talk about opposite in terms of the music and the way he just approached his music, especially his guitar playing, like you said, just so much emotion with, you know, some of that precision as well. I can't talk tonight. It's been a long day. But just incredible and all over the place.
Let's talk about the fact that he had literally, I think it was 3 double albums called Shut Up and Play Your Guitar.
Shut Up and Play Your Guitar.
It's all just Frank playing guitar. It's so good.
And it is incredible.
Yeah.
So he's just another guy. Again, I'm drawn to him because he's all over the place stylistically.
He to me is one of the big unsung guitar heroes, because again, you always think of Frank, you think silly music, funny lyrics, you know, you think of stuff like Bobby Brown Goes Down, right? Great song, by the way. But and you know, stuff like that. Or you think of the composer side of him, and people don't realize that he was a really great guitar player. The fact that he held his own against Steve Vai in that, you ever see Stevie Spanking? You ever see that video for that, where it's him and Steve Vai just going on and on?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? The fact that he held his own, the fact that Steve Vai held his own.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing with Zappa is I don't know how, I can understand not liking the music, but to not admire him as a player. I mean, I just think he offers something for everyone. If you're a Jimmy Page guy, well, check out Frank Zappa. But if you're again, we talked about like Eddie Hazel. If you're into that style of guitar playing, check out Frank Zappa. If you like the shredding Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, fucking A, check out Frank Zappa. You know, like I think he offers something for everyone. I really do. So that's my number 3, Frank Zappa. Again, I'm super shocked he didn't make your top 10.
He was just shy. I wanted to, and he, like I said, he's again one of those guys who has his own style and everything, but he's just shy. There's I don't know. Yeah. See, maybe I underrated him. I don't know.
Fair enough. All right, Dan, you're number 3.
It's my number 3, Scott Grome and Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy.
Nice pick.
Like going back to like with the guys from Skinner, like I mean, I was watching some like live stuff with that, just their dual lead ability to stay like on the same notes, carry everything through. Again, guys they were mostly rooted with like the blues and stuff like that coming from Ireland. But speaking of Brian Robertson, he overshadowed Lemmy so much off of Another Perfect Day.
Oh yeah.
Album, that motor. That's why he only got one album. But then even through the Thin Lizzy stuff, that whole album might be some of my most favorite guitar work.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, as far as Still in Love with You, like it's like a ballady, like, but he's got like those bluesy little fills, and the solo off of that song is so. And then Cowboy Song, which
oh God, I love Cowboy Song.
Yeah.
Did
they play on the rocker as well?
No, that wasn't him.
It's a good one too.
It's from like Nightlife to oh my God, the one with Soldier of Fortune.
Bad Reputation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but he was like weird because I guess supposedly he was like in and out. I guess like his drugs and partying was kind of that's why like on the album cover he's not on the cover
Oh my God.
of the album. Yeah, because he was like in and out.
Well,
And
Thin
then
Lizzy again is one of those great unsung hero kind of bands that should be much more recognized than they are.
just their guitar playing. I mean,
Oh,
so it's like their own sound too. Like you know that's like they like those two when you hear them playing. Because like even Gary Moore actually might be on one of my favorite ones, the Legend of the Black Rose
oh yeah, that's great.
album.
Yeah,
But yes, the Brian Robertson era was like just like he was on all the Jailbreak, all
I'd
the
say
Johnny.
arguably they're the best twin guitar lead combination.
Oh yeah, and like I said, he went on that Another Perfect Day album with Motorhead, and that is just some
Oh, you ever hear that,
such
Andrew?
No, I can't. I can't say I have, but I as I'm listening, they're a band I've always really dug, the popular songs specifically, but they're one I really need to go back and visit and really listen.
You're talking
to.
Thin Lizzy?
Thin Lizzy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
they are really amazing.
Phil Lynott he was heavily influenced by Springsteen.
Yep.
Really?
He was a big fan of Bruce Springsteen.
Excellent songwriter, underrated songwriter.
Because you can almost hear where it's like Bruce Springsteen influenced songwriting, like over like hard rock music. Just like really really good stuff. I mean, honestly, all of the Jailbreak album is one of the best guitar albums.
I love the Jailbreak album. God, the guitar and I mean, like iconic riffs. You got the dun 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 dun. Like they're another band. Just they got riffs
That
all day.
alternate version of Jailbreak I sent you. Oh
yeah, God. That was amazing. Yeah, it had those like extra little guitar flares in the middle. I really like that.
Yeah, he was just so good, especially if you hear like Live and Dangerous, his ability like on the to improvise on them. Like just one of the best.
Oh, Live and Dangerous alone, that's all you like. I mean, if you just said the only thing, if you use that as the only example, then
they were tough because I was trying to look but then I found out that like him and the other Scott Grome really didn't like you can hear when they trade licks, but what's amazing is like most of the time they played like those leads and stuff was them, they were doing it together, which is impressive in itself.
Andrew, you got to hear that Motorhead album. He was only on one album, and the guitar playing is crazy good on it. It's like Dan said, it's amazing that Lemmy was like, yeah, let's put this out because he just totally outshines everybody else.
That's cool. Yeah, I like I said, I mean, Motorhead, I'm not too sure as much, but Thin Lizzy is a band I need to go back and revisit.
You like songwriting?
For sure.
Excellent songwriting. Although Lemmy's a good songwriter too, but that's again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, Motorhead's great.
Look at all the hits he wrote for Ozzy. I mean, I think he said somewhere that he made more money off just a couple of songs he wrote for Ozzy than he did in his entire career in Motorhead.
I bet. Yeah. All right, man. So that brings us to we're in the top two now. So top two. Here we go.
These are the big ones.
Or number two.
My number two is Mr. David Gilmour. Unsurprising that he's there.
Your number two?
Yes, my number two is David Gilmour. I picked for my song for all the reasons that Dan mentioned. My number one, though, is Time. Comfortably Numb is right there, but that solo in Time, I'd say the three, I'd say maybe be like Time, then Comfortably Numb, then like probably Echoes, because I love the interplay between him and Rick Wright. But yeah, I mean, just I think we'll make it pretty easy. I'll just echo everything that Dan said, and we've been saying, we've mentioned pretty much every time Pink Floyd or David Gilmour's come up. Maybe something that you didn't say was like, I love his acoustic playing, like in Wish You Were Here, or I'm trying to think of like even just like the acoustic playing in Dogs, or some of the songs, something like Goodbye Blue Sky off of The Wall. He has some amazing moments acoustically as well. I love the way he blends his guitar playing, how him and Rick Wright play off of each other. I love his tone. Like David Gilmour's the best, man. I love him.
Again, I got to give another shout out with Gilmour specifically. Is I think his strumming is overlooked too.
Yeah,
You mentioned Dogs, and then when you were talking about Gilmour before too, Fearless. Again, I go back to that song.
Yep.
The strumming on that song.
Yep.
Yeah.
Precise. Like that's how you can describe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or even something like
in a nutshell.
Even look at a song like Fat Old Son off of Adam Hart Mother, or I like later Pink Floyd, like the post-Water stuff too. He has a lot of great moments there. But the sweet spot is the sweet spot. Sweet
Took him
spot
a minute.
for me was like Wish You Were Here. Like I'd say for me, the sweet spot with Pink Floyd has always been maybe like Adam Hart Mother-ish. That's when it started to like the Animals, The Wall. I think a lot of people would consider that the sweet spot. But he also has, even some of like the live versions of like Careful with That Axe Eugene and Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun off Uma Guma, stuff like that. I go on and on about David Gilmour.
And even the way he approaches the Barrett stuff as well too live.
Yeah. He kind of outshines Sid, I would say, even just doing Sid's songs, at least in terms of guitar playing. So yeah, the man's amazing. Probably the best subtle player of all time.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
With Flash though, like he was subtle, but like he had his moments where you were like, "Oh, you sneaky snake."
He's sneaky snake.
And he knew when to just let a note ring out, and then just compliment, go back, then right on top of that, just
watch Pulse, watch.
Oh yeah, Pulse, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, live at Pompeii. There's so many moments.
Absolutely, man. And then again, the bootlegs, like that's a thing in of itself. Like Zeppelin in that aspect, the bootlegs, the Floyd bootlegs are great.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm really intrigued as to who your number one is. I really thought Gilmour would be your number one. I guess now I have an idea of who it is, but still, I still thought Gilmour would have been your number one. But anyways, my number two, who yesterday was my number one, but he's my number two. I believe he was in your honorable mentions, but Prince.
Nice.
Prince is iconic in so many ways. One of the greatest pop songwriters, one of the greatest pop artists, period. And his guitar, for Christ's sakes, is iconic in of itself. But interesting enough, I think Prince, the guitar player, is a little underrated. I really do. Come at me, boys, but Purple Rain has the greatest power ballad guitar solo. I bar none.
If you're talking like in terms of I can accept that.
Yeah.
I mean, Prince is. I used to like. Had I not seen, up until I had seen him perform at the Super Bowl, I would have been like, Prince, get the fuck out of here. Then you see that, and I was like, oh my god, Prince rips. And then I've seen a bunch of his playing since. So
I'm so glad you brought up his Super Bowl performance because, and you guys know I've never been a football guy, but it's always been tradition in my family to watch the halftime performance, as I think it is for a lot of families.
Might have been the best Super Bowl halftime show I've seen.
Not only do I agree with that, but that's what made me a Prince fan. I very much went through that phase in high school, middle school. Like, oh, Prince is gay.
Yeah.
That halftime performance, I want to say 07-ish, 08. That's what converted me to a Prince fan. You want to talk about timing when he gushes into that Purple Rain guitar solo and it starts to rain. Part of me still convinced that's choreographed, but I know it's not. But still, the ultimate coincidence for sure. You had mentioned his While My Guitar Gently Weeps during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Amazing,
Eric Clapton was on the stage. Tom Petty, Danny Harrison, and Prince just comes up, fucking wails away, and just walks off the stage.
He has that moment when he spins around and falls back into the crowd.
Yeah, it's so good.
You really forget that everyone else is on that stage.
Oh, you watch the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. You're just fixated on him. There's another really cool performance. It's a James Brown live performance from the 80s, mid 80s, where he brings Michael Jackson and Prince out to the stage. Michael Jackson comes out first. What's that?
I never knew that.
Yeah, I forget what song. I'll have to find it and send you guys the link. But Michael Jackson comes out, does his thing. Michael Jackson, whatever, it's fine. But then Prince comes out. Prince not only outdoes the Michael Jackson thing, okay, but then the guitar comes out, and then you're just like, who's this Michael Jackson guy?
No kidding.
Riff off of that. Did you know Bad was supposed to be a duet
with Prince? Yeah.
But Prince didn't want to sing the line "Your butt is mine" to another man.
which
But
maybe a little bit of irony there, but anyways, but I haven't even gotten
Which is
into
true.
his songs. I mean, again, Purple Rain, between that guitar outro and the falsetto with him, just gives me chills every time, even thinking about
the
it. I'm getting
outro to
chills.
Purple Rain too. Now you got me thinking about it. Is some of the best guitar.
Oh my god, I haven't listened to it yet, but my brother was telling me about this the other day. There's a new live album on Spotify. There's like a 20-something minute rendition of Purple Rain.
Sure.
Dan's got
Wow.
his phone out right now, so I gotta check that out. But other songs too, like a song like Kiss, Controversy, When Doves Cry, some of his poppiest stuff. You get these like subtle guitar solos, and they're brilliant. Another song, Sign of the Times, a great song as well. You get a little bit more of his acoustic, playing in there a little bit too. But the live stuff I think is the best representation of Prince's guitar playing. I can go on about Prince, the guitar player, as iconic as he is, as iconic as that guitar itself is. To me, as a guitar player, underrated.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Sometimes my number one, but today he's my number two. Did you pull it up?
I think there's like multiple.
No, but that's a great song too. But yeah,
I like that. That's a
Even
bit out of the box pick, but he's totally deserving of it.
Mhm.
Even the Purple Rain remaster that came out a few years ago that has all the second disc stuff from like the movie and all this other unreleased stuff. There's some great stuff. I'm drawing a blank on like
the Batman
title.
soundtrack, which is weird, but
Yeah,
Batman soundtrack is pretty good. He did the one for with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, we watched that recently, by the way.
Mhm.
He
That's
does some
right,
good
yeah.
stuff there, yeah.
Even some of like the early 2000s stuff, he was putting out jazz records, and again, Prince is just
That one
incredible.
too. I Want to Be Your Lover. I think it's like his like first.
Oh yeah.
That's like got like this like fun little like funky riff to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess you could
Yeah,
say
man.
he's the Prince of guitar.
Possibly.
Prince is the king of guitar.
I saw a thing on YouTube one time. It was like he randomly showed up at some like like ritzy type nightclub thing in LA, but like not recently, but before he died. And he just like walked up on stage and grabbed the guitar.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
And jammed on like some bluesy type stuff. Like, yeah.
I think, and like the three of us are aware of it, obviously, but I just don't think people understand how talented Prince is across the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number two. So enough of a tangent on my end. What's your number two?
I'm gonna blow minds with my number two. It's Jimmy Page.
Whoa.
What?
Yep.
All right, hold up. Time out for
Wait,
a
wait
second.
a second. What?
Gilmore's your number two. I don't even know who your number one is.
Yeah, I don't know who your number one is either now.
You'll never know.
But anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Again.
For context to the audience, Led Zeppelin is Dan's like favorite band. So.
Even before Dan being on here, they knew that already.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, just putting that out there. But that blows my mind that Jimmy Page isn't your number one. But
anyways,
be interested to see what number one is. Actually, I think I might know who number one is.
This fucking guy.
I have an idea, but go ahead.
But yeah, just going on, a lot of Robbie mentioned a lot. I mean, me and Rob lived together, so I heard a lot of Pink Floyd. He heard a lot of Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
But Jim Page was probably one of those, like, growing up, my dad, that's his favorite band. So, like, as a kid, I remember he got, like, the Zeppelin box set in, like, 1994, like, with all the CDs. Like, that was just one of those bands I always heard. So when you start gravitating towards, like, the rock music, I started off there and just, like, he was, like, to me, like, the first, like, real cool rock guy, first guy to kind of drop the guitar down low, just like the weird stuff he would do. I think it was on Dazed and Confused with the bow, but then the no quarter off The Song Remains the Same when he's feeding it through the flange and he's making he's like a wizard, like just like probably one of the most and a lot of people complain like they say like, oh, his Heartbreaker live one, it's sloppy, he's a sloppy player. That I think was like, if I remember correctly, was his whole style to be like reminiscent of the old blues players, like the John Lee Hookers, stuff like that.
He could play sloppy, but he could also play real
quick.
precise.
Snow Jobs showed that where his like his ability to pretty much do whatever. I think we all agreed, like if they wanted to make prog rock.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page could play anything, you know.
Yeah, just like what's that one off of the first album? Something Mountain Misty. It's another one of those
Misty
little it's one of those little guitar interludes like in between a song where
it's I'll look it up.
I honestly don't know what song you're talking about.
Yeah, just stuff.
Black Mountain Side. I mean, I remembered that. I remembered that.
Yeah.
I didn't have to look at it.
Okay.
Just
wow.
his favorite guitar solo is "Reeling in the Years" by Steely Dan.
I know, that's so random.
That actually doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that was one.
Shout out to Steely Dan, by the way.
Yeah, I think Rob touched on a lot of it. I literally wrote down Jimmy Page, and then I just wrote he's Jimmy Page.
That's all you
Robbie
need to say.
did this, yeah. Just like monster riffs, just great stage presence. I couldn't even honestly. It's hard for me to give you like favorite solos and.
Oh, he's got
guitar,
a lot.
Like pretty much like one through In Through the Outdoor. How's that sound?
So all of them.
Maybe not In Through the Outdoor. I'll take that. Well, no. I've seen Hot Dog.
Dan, Jimmy Page almost did prog rock. Did you know that?
We were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. He was almost in a band with he was almost in a band with Chris Squire and Alan White.
Too, though.
Yeah.
With The Firm, which is we just don't.
Which is weird because Paul Rodgers was the singer, right? So you think they would have been a good fit, but they did some kind of
I think it sucks so bad that they were just like, should we just go our separate ways? Yeah.
There's also, I want to bring up two other Jimmy Page moments, which are actually surprisingly really good, but a lot of people probably wouldn't think of them. First of all, there's Coverdale Page, which that
oh
album
my
is
God, man.
Yeah.
Holy.
Coverdale Page. And then there's also Jimmy Page with the Black Crows.
Oh, that's right. That live
those are both 90s, I think, right? Yeah.
I forgot all about the Coverdale Page.
Yeah. That those two are really good too. So he's been all over the place. Plus, like we said, there's the Yardbirds. There's all the session work he did. He's been all over the place, and he deserves the title as one of the greatest.
Yeah.
No,
just
totally, man. So did you have anything more to add for Jimmy Page? So
I'm proud of you not bringing up the plagiarism.
Oh yeah.
I do have to put a disclaimer there with Stairway. If you hear that goddamn song, it's like, Jimmy, you dirty dog, you fucking stole that.
I do think that would be an interesting, whether it's a rant episode or just an interesting podcast, because I really do want to hear your take on that. Because him and I have talked about that very briefly. But I'm sidetracking at the moment.
Yeah,
but that could be a podcast episode right there. Rob, before you do reveal, I know we're in overtime.
Yep.
Before you do reveal your number one, I just want to point out to the audience, the viewers, I'm still processing that David Gilmour and Jimmy Page are your number two. Because here's the thing, I think your love for Zeppelin, your love for Floyd, and my love for the Beatles are just so obsessive that it would be a sudden death match. So I'm processing that these are your number twos.
I think if the person who's number one on Dan's list is who I think it is, I don't think I'll be totally surprised. Maybe a little, but not totally surprised. And I don't think when you guys hear who mine is, you're going to be super surprised either.
I'm not.
So there's our segue right there.
Yeah.
You're number one.
Richie Blackmore.
Knew it.
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore. Yeah. Richie Blackmore.
Yeah.
And look, it's like I got to see Richie Blackmore finally in the weirdest way, which is when you and I went to see Blackmore's Night.
Oh, I was there.
Which was a great concert, by the way.
Just like Fat Zora.
Oh, he was so good. Though he did.
His wife is gorgeous.
Oh God, yeah, she's a good singer too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also did, like, I know he played. It was mostly all like acoustic medieval music, but he did break out the white Strat, which I was very, very pleased about. Richie Blackmore to me has all the same. I love him for all the same reasons I love Jimmy Page. He could play anything. He's got that hard rock bluesy way of playing. I mean, look at the stuff. Like if you want to actually see that he can play like blues, soul, funk, listen to the stuff he did with Coverdale, especially the Stormbringer, right? Yeah. Stormbringer album
and Burn, right?
Burn,
yeah. But he can play like that hard rock, heavy style. He can play like the way he blends, especially in Rainbow, the classical style, like that neoclassical style with like that hard rock guitar is just I love it. But I even love his acoustic medieval shit. Like I love it. I love the way he plays his like the acoustic guitar. So
let me ask you, can I pose a question to you?
Sure.
Do you think that Smoke on the Water might have tarnished his legacy in that song is the reason why he is an underrated guitar player?
That's possible. I think
though it helped gravitate people to the Machine Head album, which also had Highway Star, which helps him always enter at least the top 15.
And also has Pictures of Home, and also has Space Truckin', which are other main. But let's not even talk about what he does in Child in Time. Let's not like all the stuff off the Fireball, like the Mule off of the
Finger Picking and Anyone's Daughter.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, he can do twangy country. But randomly, Rachel does not like Deep Purple, but she loves that song for some reason.
Which one?
But, Anyone's Daughter.
Oh my God, it's so good.
But she also loves Rainbow. But his shining moment, his rainbow, I don't know, I was trying to go for a metaphor, is Stargazer. That solo in Stargazer is so amazing. He just keeps going and going and going. And it's probably my favorite guitar solo of all time. But if you're talking the Rainbow stuff, you also have Catch the Rainbow and something like Temple of the King, where he plays that like acoustic, flary kind of thing mixed with the classical sound. Snake Charmer, Still I'm Sad, the lives, the way, look at Rainbow live in Munich, that
16th Century Greensleeve.
Yeah, 16th Century Greensleeves. I mean, he's such a diverse player and such a great player, and he's again he has that unmistakable sound, and he's just always been my favorite. I love Richie Blackmore. That's why I was willing to go see him dressed up in fucking medieval garb.
Yeah, we did it.
It was a great concert though. It was fun.
No, it was. It really was.
And the Blackmore's Night stuff's pretty good. And he finally did get back into playing rock and roll after all those years. He recently reformed Rainbow, and from what I've heard, it sounded pretty good. So
it was a very brief thing. It was like a one-off thing, 2-3 shows, but it's still cool that he did that nonetheless.
And I mean, despite what people will say about Smoke on the Water, it is the most recognizable guitar riff ever.
Everybody can play that.
Right. I wasn't bashing that song by any means. That song's fine. He's a guy I think about that sometimes.
No, you're probably right though.
Smoke on the Water, because he's always ranked pretty fairly.
Yeah.
Because Smoke on the Water also drove everybody to Made in Japan, which
you didn't even get into that.
His playing,
Made in Japan.
Yeah.
Look at the live stuff he did with both Deep Purple and Rainbow. Like he's amazing.
What do you prefer more, Rainbow, Richie Blackmore, or Deep Purple?
Impossible to say. I think if I had to, I'd say I think my favorite solo he's ever done would be like Stargazer. But you can't just go off of solos. I mean, he has some great subtle moments too. You know, the riffing in Deep Purple. I mean, I love something like what actually one of my favorite aspects of his playing is the interplay between him and John Lord, like especially live, the keyboard player, because John Lord also like his sound sounds like a guitar in a way, because he played like it's almost like a distorted organ sound.
Highway Star is some of their best.
Highway Star, absolutely.
Between the both of them.
Yeah, I mean,
and John Lord has his moment, and then Richie Blackmore.
Yeah. And he's just incredible. And I know as far as a person, he's kind of a flaming asshole, but he can be. I don't care. He's an amazing guitar player.
You play guitar like that, you'd be an asshole too.
Oh God, I would be too. Yeah. So he's my number one. Love Richie.
Going back to that top 10 douchebag guitar list, the reason why Yngwie should be number one is the fact that motherfucker re-recorded Blackmore's guitar parts on Made in Japan.
Oh
Wait, what?
God.
So I read an interview with
So
him
it's
years
all
ago.
of Deep
Made in
Purple?
Japan, like Blackmore's like his god, right? So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he stole it. He stole his look, his
Absolutely.
guitar.
Yeah, he loves
and-
Blackmore. Yeah.
he re-recorded Made in Japan. It's the Made in Japan album, but overdubbed Blackmore's guitar
Whoa.
with him.
So it's
playing.
like Ian Gillan, John Lord, like all those guys.
I'm
And
sorry.
really-
I'm sorry to all you Yngwie
He
fans.
got
and
away with that?
yeah, I'm sorry, you Yngwie fans.
It was like something he did. I think it was like a thing he did before he was famous. Like he never released it or anything like that. I just remember reading an interview years ago.
Look, he's great, but Richie Blackmore is 10 times the guitar player that man is. I'm sorry. I love, the fact I didn't know that, and now I'm pissed. I'm never listening to Yngwie Malmsteen again.
Fuck Yang
It's like, that's rude, man. That's rude.
That is rude. That'd be like
Have you heard it?
that'd be like my favorite band is Pink Floyd. That'd be like, okay, I'm gonna re-record Dark Side, but like I'm just gonna play over all of Gilmore's guitar playing.
Yeah, I have to see if I could find that interview and send it to you.
God,
I read it years ago.
That's just dirty and gross, and I don't like it. Anyway, move on.
Bottom line, fuck that guy. Which segues to my number one. Not really, but so Rob.
It's Chad Kroger from Nickelback.
And guys, that's a wrap. Check us out on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music. You know him. I know him. The origins of this channel. Some of us know him as Old Frippo Pants.
Whoa,
That's
number
right.
one is Fripp? No
My
kidding.
number one is Robert. Don't know his middle name, Fripp.
Wow, nice.
So,
I was expecting like George Harrison or something, so that's awesome to hear.
Robert Fripp, King Crimson will always be the origins of this channel, despite the fact it's named after a Porcupine Tree song. King Crimson, King Crimson will be the origins of this band. It's the reason why you and I started this thing, and it was a journey revisiting that catalog, re-listening to several Crimson records for the first time, and really just growing an appreciation for him. Mm-hmm. It's sort of in many ways very unorthodox that he's number one when you kind of look at my other 9 and my rants about, guitar players and stuff like that. But he really, he's just, I've always admired the technical side of him, even if it's borderline calculated sometimes. And I've grown to even just love that about him. But really, there's this other side. There's this beautiful side to him, whether it's the acoustic playing.
Oh, yeah.
Some of like the earlier stuff, Court, Poseidon, even Larks, not Larks, well, Larks too, but even Lizards. Really, he really is such a diverse guitar player. I go back to, again, the way Zappa, Neil approaches the guitar. Robert Fripp add him to that list. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Frippertronics alone. He really pioneered electronic music with a guitar. Yeah, he's technically great. He's a virtuoso player in the likes of, Blackmore and those guys. But there's this subtlety to him as well too that excuse me.
Look at the riff to the tone in Heroes, even.
Sure, I haven't even gotten to that yet, but even just the subtle side, I think you and I both discovered through that series with stuff like, again, Exiles.
I was literally going to mention that. I actually just pulled that up because I was thinking, it's something like Exiles.
My love for that song. Yeah. Exiles. You're going to have to correct me on the pronunciation again, but Matakudase off of, I got it right, off of Discipline again.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that, or Frame by Frame, all the Discipline stuff.
Frame by Frame. And then, Christ, you bring in a guy like Adrian Belew and the dynamic aspect of those two. That's a separate category in of itself. But, yeah, man. And then there's the studio stuff, too. I mean, come on. I mean, his most iconic guitar playing is a song that's not even a King Crimson song, and that's, of course, Heroes by Bowie. But even other Bowie songs, Scary Monsters, Fashion, Ashes to Ashes, And then even this is playing with Talking Heads, a song like E Zimbra, the opening track off Fear.
Love that, yeah.
Comes to play.
Peter
And
Gabriel, he played on
Peter Gabriel, he played on pretty much all of the second Peter Gabriel album, but I think that's him on Salisbury Hill as well as a couple tracks off Mel. But then there's Fripp and Eno. I mean, listening to those first two Fripp and Eno collaborations, the stuff that they did, it just, like, whether you're listening to Eno, Bowie, Talking Heads, Gabriel, or King Crimson, of course, as diverse as he is, you know it's Robert Fripp. No matter what, he's still that tone. That is the commonality with Fripp and with all of his projects is he uses that same tone. And I don't care what it is you're listening to, if it's something like Heroes, which everyone knows that song, or super, super deep cut, like a song like Fracture, you know it's Fripp. He's just that
those
tone,
are always the best guitar players.
Fripp tone is iconic in of itself. And yeah, I mean, I will always, Crimson will hold a special place in my heart. It's like I said, the origins of this podcast, that will hold a place, in my heart. And that's because of the man himself, Robert Fripp. And then to see him do this stuff live,
that was great, yeah.
Solo to Starless, or to take on a song like Fractured, not to be confused with Fracture. It's like, oh my God, this really is him doing this.
What's always weird is the vibe when you see him live, Dan. You'll appreciate this. Like the whole, whenever there's like, how dark King Crimson's music can be. Well, whenever they're playing live, the lights will go down and it'll be like red. Yeah. But Fripp is barely silhouetted and he's just sitting there like this, and there's this like weird tone to it. He looks like ominous tone to him. It's very interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, that's old Frippo Pants is my number one.
The first time I actually really appreciated Robert Fripp, I didn't know I appreciated him. It was because one of the first bands or artists you would say that I ever got into was Bowie, and I had that best of collection. And I remember hearing the guitar in Scary Monsters, and I was like, man, whoever plays this guitar is so good. And it wasn't until like years later that I found out that it was Fripp, and I was like, oh wow, another reason to like him.
I think Andrew addresses it in the one episode for the Crimson where it was that Kanye song got you in.
Yeah, it was the Kanye song.
Yeah. I forget
Kanye
which
West
one. It was off Beautiful Dark, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah.
And there's a sample of Schizoid Man. And it wasn't even the song when I heard it. It was actually the story where I guess Fripp had sued Kanye, but then I guess they worked it out or something.
Yeah, they talked on the phone.
That story is what got me to check out King Crimson, not even the song. I checked the song out later. The song's great.
Wait, are you serious? Because I was just trying to make a joke.
No, I'm dead serious.
Wow.
I'm dead serious. It's like a combination of that random story.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were joking, and Rob, of course, because I mean, like, really, you got me into King Crimson.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just
no shit.
Random little snippet of the story.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's funny.
So yeah,
it's really a shame King Crimson ripped off Kanye West. That's the only problem.
I know. Bottom line, Frippo Pants. Come on, man. So yeah,
Did you guys ever hear the conspiracy theory where Ziggy Stardust is actually about Kanye West?
Well, there you go.
Starman or something like that. Yeah, look that up. It's
I will.
It's like it's Kanye West was the artist that David Bowie was talking about.
Weird.
Yeah.
Dan, all right, that's it. I want to see if I'm right. What's your number one? If you're done with
your number one, who's not Jimmy Page.
John Frusciante.
Called it. Knew it. I knew it.
Really?
John Frusciante. I knew it.
I know you're a big Chili's fan, but number one, wow.
Like he
Do
just
explain.
Had like when you talk about like a diverse guitar player, he played like they had Hey off of which might be my favorite Chili Peppers album as far as Stadium Arcadium.
Mm-hmm.
Very like jazzy feel, but then you had songs like Ready Made where he would shred. Then just like the funk influence, so especially off of the earlier stuff. One of my favorite solos by him is Wet Sand, again off of Stadium Arcadium. And then the Bicycle song one of the B sides. Like just could play any like with the bicycle song, a little like reggae influenced, make you feel better, where it was like more like a pop rock feel to it. Like just his ability to stretch over.
What about Cabron, man? Come on.
Yeah, I have Cabron there. That was like that Mexican guitar playing, like just one of the best
Oh yeah.
to ever do it. Like you no matter what mood you are, John Frusciante has a guitar lick for you.
His solo stuff is supposed to be pretty good too, isn't it?
Yeah,
No.
it's supposed to be no.
Okay. It depends on what you're looking for. There's like one supposedly.
I know it's supposed to be really out there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. If you're into like that, like it's supposed to be like super duper out there. Like I guess drugs played a major factor.
Yeah,
and that man got like the live at what's that, Slane Castle. Some of the most amazing guitar work ever throughout that whole performance. Just probably
John Frusciante. So how the question is, how pumped are you that he's back?
Oh
yeah, I was gonna ask.
I didn't hate what's his name, Josh something.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, he's not as bad as when the super douche Dave Navarro
Yeah.
tried to replace him.
Just a shame because Jane's Addiction is great.
Jane's Addiction's all right, but like,
fuck Dave
he had no
Navarro.
fucking business. He had no business there. Like, none.
Yeah.
At least we can all agree. Fuck Dave Navarro.
Oh yeah,
Pretty much.
And Axl Rose too.
The guy that took over for him for those last two, he was like a prodigy. He was actually a touring musician and stuff, like studio guy. Like that's why, like when he was announced, I didn't hate it because like he would do justice to all. Plus, honestly, the stuff he did offer like Dark Necessities and all that. I'm with you. Like it was different. But like it was like I did not hate him, especially because he was kind of like a prodigy of Frusciante, not a
Definitely
douchebag, pierce nippled ass like Dave Navarro is. The One Hot Minute's just like one hot piece of shit. Like it's just garbage.
One hot piece.
Yeah,
Like,
it was definitely a hot
garbage
minute. That's for sure.
all the way through. Like John Frusciante, Scar Tissue. His.
Oh yeah.
I could go on and on.
I do kind of like Aeroplane though. That was the single.
Yeah.
That's a good song. But other than that,
That's all right.
you could skip that out
I
altogether.
think that was unfair to think that he was going to come in and what he got replaced fresh off of Californication, right?
Yeah.
Or was it By the Way?
No, it's Californication.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. John Frusciante leaves that piece of art, and then Dave, like it's like that's who you.
By the Way is still probably my favorite Chili Peppers album, and I love like all this. I love the guitar work in that album.
Yeah, honestly, just watch him. Oh my God, Fortune Faded, and the one it was. I think it was like a song for Coneheads or something like that.
Shout out to Coneheads.
I can't remember.
He had a lot of Frusciante had a lot of interesting influences too. Like he was influenced by everybody from like those funk guys like Funkadelic and guys like that to like Zappa to all kind like his influences were all across the board, and you can really hear it in his playing. You know,
he was big into there's a B-side. Castles Made of Sand.
Of course, Hendrix.
Because it's like, but he didn't try to copy Hendrix. It's like it's Hendrix's notes, but like done in his style.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
He's probably one of the most iconic like guitar players of the last 20-ish years or so, I would say. You know,
and he's somebody that too, though he is respected on Guitar Player. But I think it's because like he just like his ability. I remember like when I was super into him, I was watching him talk about how to play some of his songs, and it was funny. Like he's like, "Oh, all you do is just like this," and it's like like it's like no, you got to break that down, buddy.
You just do this.
Yeah.
And if you like the documentary they did too for the Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic, whatever. I always screw the order up that it goes, but like you're just like you watch like his acoustic playing on I should have done better with the notes. I'm sorry. I'm a father of two.
I get it.
Father of two, and this is your debut episode. It's all
Yeah.
good.
As a new father, the fact that you have two, I'm surprised that you still have hair left.
Yeah. What was the one song that it's just one of my I Could Have Lied.
I don't know that one.
You haven't heard that one?
No, I don't think so.
No, yeah, one of the like his acoustic work on that with a little bit of slide. Like just I don't know. I think like him and obviously Flea. Honestly, that's another band though. If you really think back, though, now it's like they're kind of like the Who and like we were talking about.
Rhythm section.
Yeah, where they because honestly, like they are useless without each other. Like I don't hate, but like that is like the lineup.
Yeah, man. I mean,
and the most fun to watch. I wish I could have seen them live. Me and Robbie tried, but the tickets were like
horrible.
100, and to sit like. I wish I would have spent the money though, because that was the Stadium Arcadium tour.
Oh,
yeah, stupid us.
We
could do a whole show about bands
too.
and groups that we were like, we don't need to see them now. And then they went and fucking died on it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Monsters of Metal. Robbie.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Missed Dio 3 times. Missed David Gilmour twice. Don't even get me started on missed opportunities.
Yeah, that's an episode in itself.
Right.
But yeah, guys. So that's those are our lists. Rob, I gotta say, this is probably entering Crimson territory in terms of episode length.
This was a long one.
We didn't do an hour and a half.
But that's okay.
No, we didn't.
This is literally 10 years ago. This is I remember those days just hanging out at the Bud Lake house and
this seems like nothing.
Doing this.
This seems like nothing compared to the discussions we used to get into hours and hours and hours. My God.
But yeah, so you heard our top 10s. Again, recapping, my number one was Robert Fripp from King Crimson. Rob's number one was Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple. And Dan's number one was John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This was a blast to do, guys. This was
I enjoyed it.
Fun. I'm glad we've got Dan on board.
Thanks for being our first guest, dude.
Family. Yeah, that's right. Our first guest too. Well, first guest, but he's a third co-host now. So
yeah.
Really, he's not our first guest, I guess. But
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so that's going to be it, guys. Stay tuned. I'm just going to make the decision. Next episode, top 10 bass players.
I'm down. I'm down.
In the meantime, check us out on YouTube as well as Spotify.
Is Kevin one of our subscribers?
You know what? Kevin better be one of our subscribers.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah.
Fix that. Check us out on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Anchor, and whatever other podcast platform you use. But it's going to be.
This will be on YouTube
today.
first. This will be on YouTube first, and I'll have it on those other platforms shortly.
And social media will happen one day. Oh, we have a Twitter though. Check us out on Twitter.
I'll tweet it out.
Best promotion ever. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for now. Adios.
Quick honorable mention, Mike Campbell. I
was thinking him, and I'm surprised you didn't mention Ace Frehley.
Oh, yeah, Ace Frehley. I'm surprised you didn't mention.
Yeah, sure. I forgot about him, honestly.
There you go. Well, when we revisit this 5 years from now, I'm sure there'll be
have completely different lists.
All right, guys, for real, that's going to be it. See you until next time.
Bye, everybody. Peace.